Go.
Again, 5, 4, 3.
Call to me, lands far away.
Elves have forests to protect.
We need to build a wall.
Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
No.
Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
Nothing is over! Nothing! You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
Everyone! I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all. The past is dead.
We either move forward or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
To him finally being lionized in the prime, and his prime. Fuck.
Do it!
Shit.
Just do it! Don't let your dreams change. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Luke went from being... Oh, no. Welcome, Slayer Nation. I have some great news for you today. I hope you're all doing great. Nope, that didn't work. One more.
You have failed me for the last time.
Welcome, Slayer Nation. I hope...
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
that is eating away at what you love in order for it to shine. And one man's vision is... Sometimes you don't have to make things better for them to be great again. You merely have to Okay. Hollywood continues to slow boil the culture and crazy. Well, right now, Spider-Man actor Andrew Garfield has stepped up and he's fighting motherfucker.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And unbearded dwarves, but Prime didn't stop there. They stapled in intersectionality, individuality, biddiga-dig-bee, biddiga-dig-boo.
So it begins. At my signal, unleash hell.
the Giant Slayer.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Slayer Unchained. It's December 4th, 2024 in the year of our Lord. I'm pumped. I was late. I was getting a haircut, but I'm ready. I got my Mexican Coke. I got my hot coffee and a little bit of juice. Yes, I like to drink 3 at a time. You know, something hot, something sweet, something bubbly. So how you doing today? We got Olaf here, Eric Key. Eric Key? No, what was that? Eric K, King of the Mods. See, I was just jumping straight to calling him King. Grafweb comes in with his almighty mission from God. Grafweb for $2 in the name of all that is holy. Cancel Disney Plus. And we're going to talk about Disney. It's coming right up. Grafweb. Benjamin Jansen is here. Talitha, how you doing? And RC, Nick the Greek Yasu. It was great to talk with you on that member stream. By the way, we're going to have another one today right after the show. And Lord Thoth is here. Mr. Buttcrack Media. Man, it's like all the legends. Dark Hierophant, how you doing? Hail to you, good sir. Hail to you. So let's just cut through everything. There's a lot to talk about. You can see I'm excited. I'm revved up, juiced, ready to go. It's like I can feel the lightning in the air. We'll have storm clouds outside, but everybody's eating their WINNAMINS lately. That just, makes the day just much more better. Of course, we also have a lot of crazy news. A long road ahead. We've got a lot of things to fight. And today, right after the show, we're going to do a celebration stream. We hit 500 members officially. YouTube sent me a little notice that says, congratulations. You've achieved a milestone. And I was thinking about it. And after I posted in the commentary section of the channel, thanking everybody for it, I got like an email. I'm not going to say who it is. Someone's like, why are you thanking everybody? What's this celebration? That's just for you. And I'm like, thank you very much for your words. Good luck. God bless. I'm like, no, it isn't for me. It's for all of us. See, we've been building a home here. We've been building a home. And the more that we grow, the more your voice gets out there. It's something that I believe into my core. Think about it. How many times have you watched a movie that you just wanted to share? It was so good. You wanted to share your take on it. You wanted to share your excitement, your joy about it. Or you're sitting around and you're watching the world crumble around you and you see a politician who's just not listening to you and you want it to have a voice. Well, the bigger that we grow, the more impact we have, the more your voice gets out there in the world. So everybody will stand up and listen. And that's how we start making positive changes. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So it's for everybody. Hey, Jose Taco, Justin's channels, Lizzie B, Laners, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Everybody slowly coming in. Davina, you watched Love Actually? It wasn't great. Okay. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. Great. All right. So let's just get to it. Let's get them out there. The king of cutting commentary himself and the man of 1,000 talents, Verbal Riot. And Tom, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. You got me thinking about Coke right now. Coca-Cola. Not the other Coke.
Not the original formula.
Yeah.
You got my hopes up there for a second.
Actually, you know what? I've kind of gotten addicted to the Coke Zero for some reason lately. I've been drinking a lot of that, which I probably shouldn't be drinking, but it has a really good taste to it, though, man.
I can't believe you're the second person to tell me that in as many days.
It's weird. It's weird. It almost tastes better than the regular Coke.
Come on, it cannot.
I'm not even kidding. Like it's a weird, man. Like it tastes so good. Like I'm like, what are they doing to this that they're not doing to the regular Coke?
Better than regular Coke?
But wait a minute. Are you talking regular American Coke? Or are you talking Mexican?
No, I'm talking about the regular. No, Mexican Coke is on another level, man.
Okay.
Mexican Coke is top. It's S tier.
Okay, there we go. S tier.
Yeah, Mexican Coke is S tier. It's the best.
I'm
talking about just for the American stuff. Coke Zero's been pretty good lately.
Does that ever make sense to you? How to get the original American Coke, we have to buy Mexican Coke? Like,
yeah, but you know why? Because they use real sugar.
Yeah, but why is it that anyway? I hope all that's going to change, especially with RFK Jr. saying like we have to get rid of all the aspartame, all the corn syrup, and get back to Coke and real.
You know what?
fat.
Corn syrup does two things, man. Number one is cheap, very cheap. But number two, at least for the companies. But number two, and again, this is my tinfoil hat going up. I really believe that everything is geared towards giving us diabetes or some kind of health issue, and to aid big pharma. So that's why they purposely put this horrible shit in our stuff.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. They want us to be unhealthy to feed big pharma. Big pharma.
Oh yeah.
It sucks. I got a new haircut. I'm thrilled. I didn't stand having long hair. I know that sounds like that's not news, but it drove me crazy. I'm sitting here, and the reason I was late today is I was getting a haircut, and the lady who always cuts my hair is out of town. She's visiting her relatives in Vietnam. So I don't know if it's her partner or her cousin was cutting my hair. And so she turns around and she's like, she's watched the YouTube channel a couple of times. And she's like, you need a little color in your life. And I'm like, huh? And she was pointing to my hair at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not into color in my hair. I don't need it. She's like, no, you need a little color in your life, George. And I'm like, oh, you're flirting with me. And I was like, okay, I'm dating somebody right now. I'm really honored by it. But if you ever want to flirt with me, if this doesn't work out, which is okay, to my girlfriend, this is nothing about you. We're talking hypotheticals here. Hypotheticals, just hypotheticals. I know I shouldn't even say it. I've crossed like the Rubicon now. It's going to go crazy. But I was telling you got to hit me with a 2x4 over the head, because flirting, that just goes right over my. It's like, I don't get it. You got to just like say, hey, how you doing? But I was like,
there's only two types of men. There's either men that are constantly flirting, or there's the ones that are so oblivious to it. So you're in the latter category. Yeah.
I can flirt. I do. I love flirting. I don't get flirting back. That's the thing. I'll tell you.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I guess. Or let me rephrase the first part. There's guys that think that even if a woman looks at them, that's them flirting with them. Let me rephrase it.
Yeah, probably sleeping on the couch tonight. No.
Ruh-roh, George.
Hey man, nothing wrong with a little flirting. Nothing wrong with a little flirting. It's harmless as long as you don't cross.
It's good for the heart. No, I never.
The blood pumping.
It was, and I was trying to
explain. A little jealousy is
her.
good for a relationship once in a while.
I agree. I was trying to explain to her because she's like, "Come on," she wouldn't know, and I was like, your offer is tempting, but it's not something that I do. In all the years of my life, I have never done that. Dating, married, no. It's just not in my DNA. It's not. I'm like, I got on her, and she's like, and then she took that as an insult. But long story short, to talk to you about flirting, I was 17 years old. I was working in an office, and this new marketing girl came. I can't say her name because some of my family knows her, and so she's sitting here, and I'm with my high school friend. We both had a job. This medical clinic was the first time. And so we're sitting here and we're working, right? And he's cracking up laughing because I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm not understanding why you're laughing. He's like, George, dude. And we had the pagers, no texting back and forth. And I think we had just gotten flip phones. But anyway, we weren't texting on the phone. And he's cracking up laughing because she's like, George, do you know I was a model before? And I'm sitting out, I'm at my cube and typing away, doing some kind of billing. And I'm like, looking at him, yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, what a great, you got to share your experience. She's like, I'm blonde. I'm like, yeah, I can see you're blonde. She's like, no, I'm blonde.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're blind. I'm not deaf. And he's laughing. And she's like, I'm a real blonde. I'm like, what the hell is there? Nick, I get it. I got it. I understand.
Dude, she's like hitting you over the head with Thor's hammer.
She's like, would you like to see how blonde I am?
And he turns around. He's like, dumbass, do you understand what she's saying? I'm like, yeah, she's blonde. And then it takes me like a second. She looks at me. She kind of looks like this. I'm like, oh, God, yes.
Oh, you're a natural blonde is what you're saying.
And I was like, okay.
Yes, George, the curtains match the drapes. Yes.
And I was like, okay, great to know you. I like blushed. I was like, fucking satellites could pick me up at that point. Anyway, I'll tell you one thing.
I never got hit on more than when I was married, man. Oh,
really?
When I was married, I had to beat him off with a stick, man.
There must be some pheromone with married men.
It was over, man. And it was funny enough. As soon as I got my divorce, I'm like, okay, where are all these women at that was flirting with me, man? Ghost town. I'm like,
it's weird, isn't it?
What happened here?
Well, it's because your dick don't work. That's what they think now. Is you're divorced. Something's wrong with it.
Yeah, no. It took me a long time to it took me a little while. It's kind of like, how do I say it? It's like it just took me a while to get into that mindset, because it's like I fell in love, I think, when I was 16 years old. Well, I always loved older women. But when I was a kid, I was like in 6th grade, and I loved this senior, Catherine Vincent. My God, gorgeous. Like she just, I felt like, you know, an angel walked me. I used to send her little gifts, and what's funny is that I knew her brother. He was in my class, and you know, she was a sweetheart. She's like 6'1", blonde. I don't know. And what she would do eventually, you know, she took me out to lunch for senior lunch. I mean, she was like a kind heart. It wasn't like, look at this, you know, little schmuck kid. So later, when I was 16, I saw this other girl, brunette, just crazy. I felt like lightning hit me. And so it's like I dated on and off in high school, but it's was like kind of more serious. I didn't start really dating and having fun till I was later in my 20s. And then it's like, you know, a lot of fun. So I'll tell you one person who's not going to be blushing, or blushing for the wrong reasons. Rachel Ziegler and Mickey Mouse. Well,
weird.
He's turned into Mickey Mouse, and it hasn't done him any good. But have you seen the dislike ratio?
Nope.
19,000 likes in 24 hours. 335,000.
It's worse than it was last night. Holy crap.
335,000 dislikes. And I mean, you go through the comments. Number one, immediately pause the video. I mean, it goes down here. For those without the dislike extension, they explain it. I'll give Disney some credit. They're brave enough to leave the comment section open. Yeah. You know, I really thought that they dropped this yesterday because the news was consumed with the Biden pardon.
I'm surprised it took them so darn long to drop this. Yeah, but I don't know.
I'm not surprised. I think they were trying to hold it off as long as they could.
Well, after it leaked online, I thought that's kind of it. You might as well just get it out there at that point.
True.
But I have some weird look. I was like sitting here this morning going, in a world where Bob Iger's smart enough to play 4D chess, I could almost see like 2025 being like this dumping ground. And the reason he would leave the comments open, like, or they would leave the comments open like this, is I think Bob is, if he were smart enough to do this is a big if. This is me just playing, you know, devil's advocate here. Look at all the crap they're dumping in 2025. Because Variety even had an article this morning that come up and says that Disney's quote unquote hot streak is about to come to an end with Snow White. It's like, what hot streak? 2 movies?
Yeah,
that does not consist of a streak.
Yeah.
I thought at least 3 consisted of a streak. Maybe that's me. I don't know.
That's what I thought. We had what? We had Deadpool and Wolverine.
If you count Deadpool and Wolverine, I guess an Alien in there, I suppose.
Moana.
Well, that was what they were saying, is with Inside Out 2 and Moana and
they have had a good year. They have had a good year
this year, but next year is shaping up to be one of the worst years, and I think it's going to start off with Mufasa at the end of this year is what I'm getting at.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know. There's people. I was on Gore's show yesterday for some reason, or Monday. A lot of people think Mufasa's going to do well. I'm like, where are you getting this from? Like,
I don't see it.
I don't see it. I don't.
If it had no competition, Verbal, I would agree with them. But yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm like, it's got Sonic to contend with. You have people coming off of a lot of these live action films that are just done with this shit.
Yeah, I don't, especially because Mufasa is one of those uncanny valley movies where people don't like those kind of movies, man, where it looks weird, right? Because it's not live action. It's kind of animation, but it's not. Most people don't like that, man. So I just don't see this movie doing that well. But I could be really wrong. Who knows? I mean, they might show up in droves to see this. I don't know, but
well, question: when was? Hasn't it been 10 years? 10 years since The Lion King, or more?
About, yeah.
Okay, so that's
I think that one come out in, what was it, 2018 or 19? I think it was.
It was before the lockdown.
So. Okay,
yeah, it was
so
just
not
before.
That long.
It was before Aladdin, I believe, because I think Aladdin was the last one to make $1 billion. Because there was Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Aladdin all in a row there that did really well.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry. So if they did, because I'm thinking that's pretty much a long time, you know, especially with everybody's Goldfish members.
I don't remember which exact order they came out in, but yeah.
Oh, plus it has the Y2K to compete against, which comes out this weekend.
Yeah,
nobody's going to see that. Nobody is going to see
But
that.
I think Disney's going to have a very rough 2025, man. There's nothing going on outside of, from what I've heard, the Thunderbolts, which I heard was actually pretty good, which is, I guess, I'll take my friend's word for it.
Okay.
But he said the Thunderbolts is good, Captain America is trash, and outside of those two things, I don't know what else they have. Wait, is Fantastic Four next year?
Yeah, next year.
It's supposed to be, but I have a feeling that might get pushed off because, that's going up against Superman.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Don't you think that Marvel will want to do that?
No.
Counter programming?
Not against James Gunn. You don't want to go against James Gunn.
Okay.
They might, but no. Like, for as much as people want to think that there's some sort of rivalry,
I thought there was.
There's not.
Oh, I thought. Wait a minute, Marvel DC.
No, it's a rivalry. It's a rivalry with the fans, not with the companies.
Yeah, in a sense of like James Gunn already addressed this because he was asked about, well, aren't you glad to see that Marvel's gone downhill since you've left and all this kind of stuff? I think it was paraphrasing. He's like, no, because that's not good for superhero films in general.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the thing is because to most people, like, okay, to the comic book fans, like Verbal just said, DC and Marvel matters. To the main core group of people, like the general public, you have plenty of people going, like watching an Avengers movie going, where the fuck's Batman?
Yeah.
Why didn't Superman show up?
Very true.
I don't think
they're not that dumb, but there's a general populace.
No, I get what you're saying, man. Especially when it comes to like some of the more obscure characters, right? It's like you don't know what company they're a part of if you're not a comic book fan.
Right.
So my thing is, it's good for business overall. And who's to say, like, at some point, James Gunn doesn't want to do business with Disney again, right? So, I mean, on the business side of things, those two things are it's not an issue. For the fans, it is. But I agree. If comic book movies start to go down, everybody fails. Everybody loses money. So they're kind of almost cheering for each other to do well. That sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't. But it's inevitable. I mean,
a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing is basically, and I think that's kind of what I think that's even what James Gunn said at the time, and that's one thing Andre always points out too, and it's true, right? Because
it's going to end though. At some point, this comic book era is going to.
We kind of have. I've already made this argument. We've reached the point where there's the exceptions, and that's it, right? Yeah. We have the Deadpools, and we have the randomness here and there that you'll get the Spider-Man No Way Homes.
Yeah.
But look at the last, dozen superhero films, comic book movies that have come out. They've all flopped.
Any obscure characters are basically not going to see the light of day.
Actually, you could probably go 10.
We're never going to have a situation where we're going to see another Guardians of the Galaxy pop up. Like it's just not going to happen.
But let me ask you this: those flopped because they were trash. If they were good, would they still succeed? No, I don't think so. Here's the thing: is unless it's a Spider-Man or a Deadpool, the audience is not going to trust it until we say something. Venom's a good example of that. It had a soft opening, but it kept carrying on because I think word of mouth helped Venom 3. People were saying, oh, it's better than the second one. Right.
So, I mean,
which isn't saying a lot, but yeah.
No, but it helped, I think, a little bit for that film compared to some of the other movies this year we've had, basically.
Oh, see, and that's the other thing, George, because you got the MCU, you got DC, and then you got Sony, which is also Marvel, right?
Exactly.
Most people don't know the difference between Sony Marvel and Disney Marvel.
Wait a minute. You don't think after 12 years that the general audience doesn't know the difference between Marvel and DC?
No, sure, Marvel, but not Marvel, not Disney and Sony.
But
Marvel.
no, and that's the problem.
Okay,
is that line's been so
that.
obscured now, even more so with the Spider-Man films, and being Spider-Man's part of the Avengers and all that business. So, that's even made it more confusing for people. Like, I've told this story before, but I don't think I told it to you guys. Maybe George or maybe you've heard it once before. Yeah. But like when I worked at a grocery store for a while when I was younger, and like they had a rental section there. So like I ran part of that part of it. And as you know, I always has something to do with video in my life, either video or fast food or radio. It always seems to go back to somewhere there. And I know it sounds like I've had a billion jobs. I've had a billion jobs because I've been working since I was fucking 12 years old. But anyway, like this lady comes up and she's renting, I think it was Thor: The Dark World. And I'm like, well, what did you think of the Avenger film? Because it was not that long after that had come out. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm like, the Avengers. I'm like, what did you think of that? She had no idea what the hell I was talking about. She had no idea that these movies were all attached. She had just been watching the Thor movies because she liked Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, okay. That's
so she had never seen Iron Man, never seen Captain America, never seen the Avengers, only had seen Thor and and was renting Thor the Dark World at that point. Like, yeah. So like, and I clued her into it. I showed her. I'm like, oh, here's the Avengers, and she saw, oh, there's Thor. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So these all connect together. And she's like, okay, we'll have to check them out. Well, at that point, I felt good because I turned on a fan, right? Or I made probably a new fan at that point.
Turned them on. Yep.
But that was, 10, 15 years ago now or more than that, when this was all getting started back in 2013 or whatever it was. So yeah.
Well, good. So I guess basically what y'all are both saying is that they're not going to compete against each other. They want everybody to succeed, and it's good for all of them. That's the bottom line.
Oh yeah, neither one of them. Well, like the Snyder situation and then the subsequent stuff with DC, that did not help Marvel at all. No.
See, I thought the rivalry carried over from the comics, but it's good to know, I guess, that it doesn't for the DC and Marvel. I guess it's just among the fans. Well, that's good. So when do you think they're going to release Fantastic Four then?
I think it's going to get pushed to either August or Christmas. What do you think, Verbal? Do you think they're going to push it? Or do you think they're going to stay with that July date that they initially?
Everything in me tells me that they are definitely going to they're going to push it back. They have to. Like there's no way they're not going to compete.
When is Superman coming out?
July.
Yeah, for the 4th. Is it doing the 4th?
Around the 4th. Yeah, around the 4th. And that's
that
yeah, they had it set for the same date, and I don't think they're going to keep that date. I'm still curious if they're going to keep. People are. I mean, at this point, just because they've got all the stuff in theaters and shit already, that they're probably just going to dump Captain America 4 and get it over with.
No, because they're already doing more reshoots. Again.
I know. That's what I keep hearing, and I'm like, I've been saying I think they're going to push it back, but everybody's like, I don't know. They got all the
they're
going to
push it back. They want it so badly for it to drop during Black History Month, because he's black.
Right.
And they were aiming.
Oh, they're going to try to make this a Black Panther thing.
It's so stupid. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to do. But if they're doing reshoots again, it's not dropping in February.
No, it's not. But it's not possible. There's no way. And especially after what I think it would be safer for them if they actually just put it on Disney Plus. They can save the embarrassment. But they've spent what's now up to $500 million.
And then we've addressed this before. Unfortunately, this is where like they have to release it now. That's the problem. They've got contracts involved. The
toy lines.
Donald's toys have already been out last May. So like, yeah.
I don't think I think this is going to hurt them more than anything else. I think people are going to quickly forget Deadpool.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to keep some distance between Captain America and the Thunderbolts because they kind of intersect a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the Thunderbolts is good, from what I keep hearing, and Cap is bad, and they don't want a connection to the two. If Cap is that bad, they don't want the connection to the Thunderbolts, so they're trying to keep them separate. I look, the MCU, their big money maker next year is going to be Fantastic Four at the end of the day. That's going to be their big movie. It's going to be their Deadpool versus Wolverine for next year. So they gotta do this right. They gotta plan it right. From what I've heard, the movie looks gorgeous. It looks incredible. They're giving all the fan service, man. They're giving tons of respect and love to Jack Kirby, who created the Fantastic
and don't forget this is where Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to be returning.
Yeah, Robert Downey just returns. The only thing that might hurt it a little, and I don't think it's going to be a factor, except for some of us who do YouTube shows, is the female Silver Surfer is going to.
It's going to twerk people.
Well, the new rumor is they're going to have both.
But only people like us, like the general audience, is it going to care that the Silver Surfer is female.
Well, I don't know if you heard anything about the latest rumor that they're going to have both or not Verbal, but yeah, that's the latest thing I've heard is that they're going to have the thing is the female one.
They really should release the Thunderbolts first, because if it's as good as you're saying, then they should.
Can they though? That's the question I was actually going to ask. Like, because I mean, do we know how connected are they, and does one set up the other, or is it just a tangential connection to where they can get away with? Because here's what I would think they would probably end up doing. So what they would do is they would probably end up pushing back, if they can, Falcon to July. So they'll put it up against Superman so they can say, well, see, it got killed by Superman. It had no chance. And then you already released the Thunderbolts in what, May or whatever when it's supposed to come out. Yeah. So that would already come out ahead of time. So that leading in, like with Verbal saying, even if that movie doesn't do very well at the box office, I can see that being a movie being like, oh, it wasn't as bad as we all anticipated it was going to be. It just doesn't have anything to really bring the masses into the box office. You know, it's not going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy situation, right?
The thing is,
like
there's no way they're going to bury this movie. Not when you got Harrison Ford, you know, in the lead. But
that's the only way I see them mitigating the damage. Verbal, right? I mean, I don't know if you agree or disagree on that. Is like if they push Falcon and Winter Soldier to July and put it up.
Oh no,
Superman,
I think you're right. You're right on the money. They should definitely do that. Like that should be the movie to compete with Superman, because we all know it's not going to compete. But that's fine. Just quietly drop it that weekend.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Thunderbolts, though, after you said you've heard it's good, that should come out first. Build goodwill with the audience again, because if you do Captain America first and then Thunderbolts comes out, you know whoever watches that is going to just go, why am I going to waste my money?
And what we're not talking about, George, is, okay, those are the movies, man. There is a slew of terrible Disney Plus shows coming out next year.
Right. That's where they're going to really hurt
them. Like these... I think Disney's in trouble next year. I really do.
What do we have coming out next year? I know there's 33 sequels coming out from the Hollywood.
Well, there's Ironheart that they've been trying. They pushed it back as long as they could.
Deadpool's pretty much the only thing they got that might have a shot.
Which one?
Or not Deadpool, Daredevil. I meant
Daredevil.
Sorry.
Yes,
Daredevil. I think is going to do well if all the rumors are correct. I think the way they reshot that,
but I think Verbal's right, and I think that was kind of to finish off my whole point. Is I think that if Bob Iger was smart enough and he was playing 4D chess, he'll use 2025 as the year of failures to go, see, kids, this is why we can't be so political. We got to take it back to the roots of what made Disney what it was. And as I pointed out, I think it was Sunday on your show, if I remember right, that Disney was safe, right? Like that was the number one thing that they were most well known for, is that they were safe. And that's one thing they aren't anymore. And they got to get back. What does safe mean? Sometimes safe just means what you expect.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
family safe as well.
Yes. And you know what? You know what? Inside Out proved that. Inside Out 2 proved that this year, right?
Moana 2, possibly the same way. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming it's pretty straightforward.
It did $1 billion, and you know why? Because it was just a good story about a little girl and the things that she goes through and the things that go on in her head. Nothing weird. And what's funny is they had a whole bunch of LGBT stuff planned out for that movie, and they cut all.
No, they cut it, but that was when the Civil War started in Disney.
But here's the thing: they cut all that shit out, right? And the movie did $1 billion. But
so you're going to have hold on
when he says safe. If they just go back to being safe, they'll start making money again.
Yeah, if they would, but they got to listen to the people. They also have to squash all those.
Really, I wouldn't
wait 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry, George. I'm sorry.
No problem. They got to squash what's going on over at Disney with the people who are still trying to push their agenda. Because what we have so far is we saw it, like you just said, in Inside Out. There was how many articles that were written about it, where they were talking about there were two factions. One who was like, hey, we got to complete the storyline, that big mystery we left at the end of Inside Out, to carry that LGBTQ, Rainbow Pride Festival message across. And they didn't. What would you think would have happened if they had done that? I think the movie would have it would have crapped the bed. No way.
Yeah, Disney be in worse state than they are right now. And yeah, basically what I was going to say is, like, here's the thing with all these remakes and reimaginings or live action versions of their animated films. Normally I'd be like, yeah, that's what I expect out of Disney. But the difference is that how they're manipulating and changing them. That Snow White thing, I don't know if you want to get on that real quick.
Yeah.
Like that's a prime example, right? Like 20 years ago, Disney would have done this. It would have literally been shot for shot. The girl they would have gotten, you would have swore that's the model they used to make her in the first place. Right? Like that's how Disney paid attention to that kind of detail before, but it was so effing safe that you knew they were not going to deviate anywhere from the original plan, right? Like
right.
You knew exactly what you were supposed to be getting out of Disney before. That's why I didn't care if they had 10 Shaggy Dog remakes. I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting Herbie the remake 12. Like that would be Disney, right? Like that's typical Disney. They're going to just keep rolling out the same shit they always do. We're getting a remake of the Apple Dumpling Gang, like why not? Because that's Disney,
But you know what though? It's always worked for them.
It did.
Disney,
that's my point. Yeah, exactly.
Disney doesn't have to be edgy. Disney could just be safe, like they've always been. Like the way Walt built it to be a safe family place. They didn't have to get edgy.
No, but they got carried along by that whole red carpet cult. And we got thoughts on narrowboating with Nigel. Member for 5 months. Way to go. I've collected Fantastic Four since 1970. I ain't watching it.
I'm hearing so much back and forth on this between.
Man, I'm
it's
telling you
good,
guys,
it's
I'm
not
hearing good
good.
stuff
Yeah.
about it. I'm hearing that it's back to form. I'm hearing that they give respect to Kirby, which is very important to me because
Wow.
I am a huge Jack Kirby fan. Love his New Gods stuff. That's probably what got me into Kirby was the New Gods. And of course, the Fantastic Four is the first family of Marvel. They were the first. So you got to treat it with love, man. You got to treat it with kid gloves. And from what I'm hearing is they're being very respectful to the property. It's a period piece. It takes place in the 60s, which is that's the best way to do a Fantastic Four movie. It has to be a period piece.
I think that's how they're going to soft reboot the Marvel Universe. And I know we've talked about this for a while. But if you know anything about this movie, yes, it's a period piece, but it takes place in a completely different timeline.
Oh yeah, it's a
futuristic,
a retro futuristic.
So what I think is going to happen is they're going to eventually find a way through Secret Wars and all that stuff to kind of retroactively kind of bring in the Fantastic Four as the beginning of a new Marvel universe, and then from there we're going to get recastings or reimaginings with. I mean, sure, Robert Downey Jr. will probably find some way to bring him in as Iron Man.
I gotta say, I do hate the fact of
Pedro Pascal
being Reed Richards. I felt like there's so many better choices, man, that they could have picked for Reed Richards. I don't know why they went with Pedro Pascal. I honestly, look, he's a decent actor, but I don't understand Hollywood's infatuation with this guy. Why is he being cast in everything?
Call the casting couch.
There's
something about it. Why not carry on what they did in the Doctor Strange movie? I mean, you had everybody's number one choice. I mean, they threw that cameo in there with him from The Office. Of these
actors, though, like, it's him, Pedro, Jack Black, Michelle Yeoh. It's like you can't make a movie without one of them anymore.
Funny enough, you know who would have been a great Reed Richards? Zachary Levi.
I said that the other day, Verbal. I said that the other day. Unfortunately, it's the worst time for him that, with his politics. But yeah, he would have been a perfect one. And I said that the other day. I was like, and I said that after I saw him do that one video more recently where he was just talking to us with the beard and all that stuff like that. I'm like, why isn't this guy Reed Richards?
Yeah.
Everybody kept talking about what's-his-face who was in the Doctor Strange movie. I'm like, yeah, I see why you want him because of the look, but I don't think he's the right part for the persona. Right, like, but yeah, Zachary.
And again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I all I'm doing is I'm going off of speculation from what I'm hearing from people who are working for them, who work for the MCU. So I'm like, okay, they've been right about everything else, like literally right about everything else. So I'm like, I trust you. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to go watch it either way. Certain things I don't like though. There's certain casting choices. Like, here's the thing. I think the rest of the casting is fine. Like, I think what's her name? Kirby.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The one who plays the invisible.
Jessica, the one that's playing Invisible Woman. Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa, that's what it is. Yeah,
excellently cast in that. I think the guy who plays Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm. I like those two actors. So I mean, I think the rest of the cast I'm good with. I didn't care for Pedro, and I definitely, I'm still not on board with this female Silver Surfer thing, but I'm still willing to give it a shot.
It's time for Disney. A lot. It's time for Disney to get over Pedro Pascal. I mean, it's too long. But they're going to learn their lesson. I mean, look, Eric K just sent this in for $5. Pedro's box office poison. Anything semi-successful he's been in has not been because of him. Yeah, even The Mandalorian.
And then this next year is going to, I was just going to say, there you go. I mean, I was going to say, because that's going to be the false equivalency, right? We're going to get, look, Fantastic Four will probably be, and I think Verbal's right, regardless of how anything else goes, that will probably be the only Marvel movie in theaters that makes any money next year. And we know the Mando's going to do okay, probably. So there,
I don't know.
He'll have Mando. Two movies. He'll have two movies that were hits. So yeah.
I don't know about Mando and Grogu. We're just going to talk about.
I do not. I think zero hope for that movie.
I don't know hope for it, but
I don't. I'll tell you. Even the name itself shows you the lack of creativity and imagination over at Lucasfilm. Mando and Grogu. I think I shared this once with Tom before Verbal a long time ago. I mean, think about it. If they had these people today naming movies back then, I mean, you'd have Jaws. I mean, the shark in the big boat. Star Wars would be space battles and ships. I mean, Mando and Grogu. I have you had Filoni talking about it, how it just finished wrapping.
Yeah.
But before we can get into that, look at this one comment from as we wrap up Snow White, which to me is it's gonna give Disney one of their biggest black eyes, especially talking about a fundamental founding film, the film that Walt Disney borrowed against, built everything on. And this person says here, at this point, the monetization of this video is going to earn Disney more revenue than the movie itself. With how much they spent, I've heard it's now 380 is the budget. I've heard from 330 to 380, and that's before marketing. So I completely agree with that. And we got It's the Phobos for $2. No Respect with Silver Surfette. We reject.
You know what? I agree. Like I said, I already said I don't agree with that choice or Pedro Pascal, but what I heard, again, because I haven't seen it, so I'm only speaking from what I heard. I heard that it's being done pretty well. So that's all I can say. Other than that, I have no idea until it comes out.
I will say I 100% agree with the fact that the public isn't going to care. If the movie is done well, they're not going to know, oh, Silver Surfer, Silver Surfette. You know, they're just not going to care. The only thing I would say is how well did the other two Silver Surfers movies do? I know it was a long time ago.
Well,
there was only the one.
There was only the one, and it was not a good movie. I'm sorry. If you love that movie, good. I don't care. I hated Doctor Doom in that movie. Here's the thing: the Fantastic Four lives and fails off of Doctor Doom. If you don't do Doctor Doom right, I'm out. And they didn't do Doom right. So like, I don't know, man. Now this movie's different because Galactus is the big bad. It's not Doctor Doom. I don't think Doctor Doom's going to have a huge role in this movie, to be honest with you. This is all Galactus. This is all the coming of. This is the end of the world kind of thing, and blah blah blah.
But there were two of them, right?
But yeah, no, the first Fantastic Four movie, it was fine. It was fine. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was fine. Second one was garbage. I'm sorry, it just was. The Silver Surfer looked really good in the film. I thought that the visual effects were great for him.
Yeah,
I just
what's his face? Morpheus is great.
I just didn't like the movie.
Voice. Yeah.
But I'm curious, it's gross. What the gross was is it says the first one did 154 million, and the second one, The Rise of the Silver Surfer, did 169.
Yeah, it did a little bit better, but not.
I'm just curious.
At that point, we weren't quite. It wasn't quite in the superhero craze yet. That was post X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
people got to remember that. And you also had Daredevil and some of those other movies in that era too. So keep that in mind. But
Daredevil.
Yeah, that was kind of there's that wonky period there just before the MCU got its footing and got off the ground. But like Fantastic Four has always been one of those kind of cursed properties that they just can't ever seem to quite get right.
Right.
The closest we've had has been the canceled one, sadly. But if you have a chance to see it, and what I mean by that is it's the most faithful to the original.
Oh wait, the Roger Corman one?
Yes, that's the one that's the most faithful to the original comic. Unfortunately,
no, you're right. But I saw that movie. It was wonky, man.
It's wonky as shit. But it's never been finished. That's the other problem with it. Is like the version that's out there that doesn't have a final sound mix. And stuff like that. So like they were gonna redo, obviously they were gonna have the actor come in and redo his voice for Doctor Doom and stuff like that. It just never got finished. I think they were gonna redo the voice for the Thing and some other bits like that because it's got some really bad sound elements and some test cues and stuff like that. I think some of the score was done, but not all of it yet. But for those who don't know about that movie, it was just basically a rights retainer done so they could keep the rights to the film that was never meant to see the light of day. But they had to pretend like it was going to. But then the one with that we had in the early aughts, that was all right. Like you guys just said, the Silver Surfer one was, But that, of course, every one of us wants to forget about Fan Four Stick. I don't think anybody liked that movie.
Yeah, that
was some bullshit, man. I will never understand the thought process of race swapping Johnny Storm. What was the point of that?
What was that
honestly, I had my theories, and some people agree with me, some people don't. I feel like at that point, they wanted to have some. They knew they had to swap out at least one of them, but it was either have two black characters and one white and one Jewish character, or do it the way they did it. And then the other side of me tells me at that point, when that movie was still being made, there was still enough people that had this like thing going on. Well, there's no way you can have you know, the black and white thing go on. So like they had come up with this convoluted thing with the whole adoption. It just made
I don't think any of that mattered. The film was trash.
It was so stupid and convoluted that at the end of the day, it just didn't make any sense to me. And not only that, the bigger problem to me with the movie is okay, so you had this thing where Johnny Storm is supposed to be this genius, but yet he's not. Like, I don't get it. Like,
it was
they
trash.
had to have like, it's like, okay, you picked the wrong character, if anything. Like, you should have made the girl. And this was my point, is like they wouldn't do that because because we can't have a white guy and a black guy together for some reason, or white guy and a black woman together for some reason at that point. I think was part of the problem. I don't know what the deal was at that point. They just couldn't do it. They didn't want to do it that way. So they flipped it the other way around. And then some people said it was because he was going to have what's his face play Johnny Storm no matter what anyway, because I think he said that early on.
Yeah, it was Josh Trank. I mean,
and that was what I was getting at, was the studio didn't want a black lead as an actress. That was the whole thing.
The point is Josh Trank made his name with Chronicle. I thought I loved it.
That was great. I love
And then he came with Fantastic Four and shit the bed. I mean, he's done nothing. I think one film he's done since then. Kill the Point or something.
Or he just wanted to cast his buddies, right? He was buddies with Michael B. Jordan.
But okay, so for my convoluted thing is what I was saying there is, yes, the studio was all, okay, fine, you can have the one, but we're not going to cast a lead black actress.
Right.
That was what they were saying at the time, is kind of what I was insinuating.
I
heard some things that supported that.
Yeah, I don't think any of that mattered. I didn't like the race swapping, but they could race swap it all day long. Hell, they could have put Sydney Sweeney, unless she was going to be butt naked from the minute one till the end. The movie was just trash. There's nothing else. Yeah. And it's the same thing that Disney's going to face right now. Not only they have Snow White, they released Skeleton Crew. Did you check out Skeleton Crew?
No,
not yet.
Yeah, I haven't, but I was listening to Chris after I saw his post, and then I went searching. Of course, Disney did what they did. Chris now says, it's Goonies in space. It was a lot of fun. And then he saw the screener for episode 3 for it. And of course, as you'd expect, just like we saw the Coven of Lesbian Space, which is in the Acolyte, we get in the 3rd episode of New Star Wars, Skeleton Crew. The kids, they end up basically, you got, a suburban community in Star Wars. These kids end up finding a lost spaceship. They go missing and they go to their parents. One of them has 2 moms. Another one has a single mom. Another one has a single dad. And it's Disney, once again, injecting their agenda into the whole thing. See, this is what they can't let go of.
No, they can't. I've heard good things about it.
That's what he was saying.
But it's just not enough for me to watch it, man. Because Chris gave it a good review, but so did Star Wars Theory.
Really?
Star Wars Theory said it was a fun movie. And I think but I think they both agree on the fact that this is for very little kids. This show is for kids.
Yeah, it said 9 and under.
Yeah, 9 and under. Like, these are for like youngsters. So I mean, with that said, I'm okay with it. I guess it's not for us. It's
right?
Really
okay.
not for us.
I get that.
Like and you know what? Here's the thing. For all the shit people talk, right? I get it. I love Lucas. I love the original series. Don't forget, man, we also got the Ewok adventures back in the 80s, right? You get what I'm saying? There was some shitty early Star Wars stuff too. And you know what? The Ewok adventure was for children, little kids. So I mean, if they want to do this for kids with the Skeleton Crew, whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to watch it, but hey, you know what? If my niece and nephew, they probably will watch it. You know what I mean?
Right, but they don't necessarily attract parents in when they try to push a message. It's like they created something for kids, and then they're like, hey, nobody there again, I haven't seen it, by what I understand, there isn't what you would call a traditional family. It's like single parents, 2 moms. There's not a stable, a role model.
Sure.
A role model. And I think that when parents find out, it's going to turn them off. Like my sister always calls me up. She goes, well, the kids want to watch this Disney show. Can I watch it? Have you seen it? Well, have you heard anything about it? Did you review it? Do you know any news about it? And so I'll go check it out. And I'll be like, well, I'll tell her this is what I think of it. Here's the good and the bad. And I wouldn't watch this. I'd watch this. And a lot of parents do that today because
just because it might be better than the Acolyte, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's good. I mean, we're still talking about Disney Star Wars here, right? So whatever. At this, look, here's the thing. I have killed any love I've had for any Star Wars projects. Like my love of Star Wars died, I say,
when
around season 1 of Mando.
Oh, it didn't die with Last Jedi?
No, because I like Mando. I really liked the first season of The Mandalorian, and that it was a damn good show, right? The second season was okay, but the first season was damn good. After that, it was all downhill, man. Oh, you know what? Okay, I'll say this. It depends what came first. If Rogue One came first, then it died with Rogue One. If Mando came first, then it died with Mando, season 1. So whichever one of those came first is where
Rogue One came first, didn't it? Yeah,
okay, then Mando is where my love died.
Gotcha. I'll tell you what, I loved season 1 of Mando, but I also liked the end of season 2. I love that.
Oh yeah, no, that
3
was
minutes with Luke. I did. It just come on, that lit me up. I'm watching.
You got all the nostalgia feels of coming back, and
I didn't see that coming. I will tell you when it really died for me was Book of Boba Fett. That was the first TV series I ever reviewed, and I was like, I can't believe this. I'm watching Star Wars, and it looks like Power Rangers, but not good Power Rangers. Just
dude, the Boba Fett was god awful. It was god awful. I was almost embarrassed for them watching that.
Yeah, it's horrible. And now you have a class action lawsuit. Trust me, audience, I'm not going to show you any more clips of hand holding and fingering and between the two actresses, but Mattel has a class action lawsuit on their hands. Wicked fan sues Mattel over doll packaging that linked to porn, citing negligence and emotional distress. That emotional distress, it's kind of like, that's pushing it for me. But Mattel is facing a class action lawsuit after it accidentally included a link to pornography website on some of its Wicked doll packaging, instead of the Universal Movies landing page as intended. According to one mother from South Carolina, the marketing material that listed Wicked.com instead of WickedMovie.com came as an absolute shock and left her minor daughter horrified. Now, what is she saying? That the kid basically signed up to the site? Like, hey, I got the doll, and then she went to Wicked and was like, bugga. What?
Apparently, that's exactly what happened. And here's the thing, man. I don't know how you overlook an oversight like that. Like that is people need to get fired for this.
100% agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But what she says, what do you think about that emotional distress? I could see it for the kid freaking out, you had a porn site.
Well, here's the problem with this here. And I wasn't surprised. I knew there was going to be something coming up eventually with this, but this sounds frivolous as hell, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets tossed.
Okay.
But then again, it could turn into a class action lawsuit where everybody gets a coupon who bitches, and that's about it. Because at the end of the day, to actually get into the website, when you first go in, you can't see shit.
Right.
It's just a blurred web page that's black that asks if you're 18 and all that kind of stuff. So unless mommy or daddy already have a fucking subscription to it and it's tied into the
which they might.
They might. Good point.
If not, daddy might have got busted, but like that being said, the claims that this lady is making are bullshit unless you already are deep into the website, because even on the main page, it's stuff that's even the posters and the advertisements are stuff that I wouldn't even be afraid to show on here. The women are covered up.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's not anything remotely that bad.
Wait, so tell me something, Tom. When you go to the page, so if a kid actually typed wicked.com, what's the first thing they see exactly?
It pops up with the website thing asking if you're 18.
It's a little risque.
It is a little risque, but it's not what they're claiming.
Because the kid was 6. So I'm curious to understand a 6-year-old with what they.
Go ahead and share it verbal. I mean, you can see what it is. I mean, it starts off with just a warning that says this is adult content. If you're not 18, do not enter. Are you 18? Just your typical legalese shit.
Okay. So there's no porn on the landing page.
No, like there's no naked bodies on. But
exactly.
But there's women in lingerie. Okay. It's okay for a kid. It's bad. For an adult, it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But even as a 6-year-old, I wouldn't freak the fuck out the way this is being presented here. Like I said, unless there's actually a situation where dad already has a fucking subscription to this somehow, and when you go to the landing page, it actually jumps you right into like something else completely. Like that's the only way I can see it. At that point, that's their problem, not
the kid might have clicked on something, and I don't know, but
But I agree with Verbal. Like, I can't believe this got to this point where somebody didn't catch it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Universal's kind of pushing the buck onto Mattel at this point, but they're not really making anybody be called to task for it, because their statement was as of last week or whatever, or the week before, whatever it was when this was all going down, that they're just like, yeah, we don't think it's had any effect on the box office, basically, and it's just a minor mistake, right? Like it just like, oh, shit happens, and it is understandable, but like with Verbal, like he was saying, like, I can't believe it goes through this many channels without somebody noticing. And you would think if you know that your movie's website has to have a specific title to it to be correct because of something like that, that would be one of the things you make sure you check.
Yeah.
Right. Of all the other bullshit on the packaging, be like, look, we got to make sure that wickedmovie.com is on there, not wicked.com. Remember that, because remember, oh, yeah, that was a big, yeah, remember Sam figured it out? Yeah. Ha, 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 ha. You would think that'd be like, oh, yeah, make sure the memo's there to check that.
To me, it feels intentional, especially Mattel refused to offer any refunds. That was one of the parents who've now formed a class action.
Well, that's because they pulled the dolls, man.
Yeah, but they said it was because of what happened. They said they needed to have some apology, to some understanding of why it happened, because they didn't believe
did technically apologize publicly. They put out a statement, and all the statement said was disregard the packaging. And that's the thing. Right. Who is keeping the packaging?
Right. So, I agree. I'm just telling you what the news report. To me,
no. I get you, George. This is why I think
this is the crap that drives me crazy. You remember the woman who sued McDonald's for the hot coffee spilling on them for $2 million? That drives me. I'm sorry. It's coffee. It's hot.
Well, that's a problem here. See, I know everybody brings that one up as an equivalent when it comes to frivolous lawsuits, and I wish they wouldn't, because if you actually do the research on that one, that lawsuit, that was Disney spinning, or not Disney, McDonald's spinning a bunch of stuff in the press. If you actually go and see the actual story, it was a situation where
I followed.
That being said, no, I get what you're saying though, and that is the one that everybody jumps to. I just wish they wouldn't, but like, it's just a personal thing, because I've researched it a little bit deeper. But that being said, no, you're right. Like, this sounds like one of those things, and if it does go anywhere, I think basically it'll be Mattel will say, okay, if you feel like you were wronged in some way, you have a chance to get into this civil lawsuit or whatever it is, class action lawsuit. I mean, not civil. And you
I want them to find out
if a free doll.
Yeah, I just want them to find
what it'll be.
The one thing I want to find out if it was intentional. That's what
I don't think it was. I really don't.
That's really hard.
I don't see where.
You know what? Yeah, it wasn't intentional. It was negligence.
Yeah,
negligence. Okay, human beings are human beings. That happens. But even Verbal, you thought about it for a second. How could that be? I mean, how many people does that have to go?
Well, I used to work. And this was like right before the. Well, this is like 2015. I used to work at this DVD distribution company out in Burbank, and part of my job was I had to make sure that, okay, we got a copy of what the back of the DVD should say, and every copy needs to be exactly what that version says, right? So, and I was part of a team. Like, we have teams who do this. It goes through many hands, man. And what I'm saying is okay, fine, one person didn't catch it. Okay, what about the other, like, fucking 12 people?
But that's what I'm saying. How did they all miss it?
That doesn't make any sense.
Right. That's why I said something smells funny.
No, and George, I would agree with you, because this is one of those things, like I was just pointing out, like, you would think having known, somebody knew within the mix of this, because when they made the Wicked movie website, they had to have known. So you would think somebody would have been like, okay, get the memo out there to make sure that everybody has this on. So somebody didn't get the fucking memo.
Oop.
And when they were going through and they were just doing it, because it was just randomness. And I guess the thing is, it's funky about this is it's only on a few different of the Mattel packages. It didn't make its way to some of the other ones. So that tells me it probably didn't come from Universal, but it was clearly, like Verbal said, just random ass negligence. And this shit can happen because you have, and I've noticed this more so with the last few years with the way they're downsizing all these companies, people inside the marketing departments and certain things of these people, you have like somebody fresh out of college or some idiot who's never done anything in his life, and they're not paying attention to that shit. They just think, okay, I got to put the website on here. It's wickedprobably.com. I think that's exactly what happened. I know in this day and age, it would be easy to go, oh yeah, somebody was trying to indoctrinate the children.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that nefarious. I really don't.
This is just negligence.
Okay, so it's negligence. We have a couple of super chats. We got Inez Pereira, became a Georgia Giant Slayer member. Welcome aboard, Inez. That's awesome. You're going to be in today's member stream. Hope you jump on the panel. Can't wait to meet you in person. And then we have Eric K, King of the Mods, gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Everybody, please go welcome Inez and go thank Eric K for both of y'all. This is for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. We're going to have a full member stream today. Plus, we also have Eric K with another $5. I do not blame the designer of the box. I'm sure someone emailed or spoke to them saying, do not forget to include the Wicked website. It's not free. Probably doing things like
you know what? Right now, Wicked has to be loving this right now, Wicked Studios, because I mean they have probably gotten an influx of people going to their website right now.
Oh, yeah, the week that news came out, yeah.
If they were smart, they would have already had a porn parody of Wicked on their site.
They don't know Verbal, which is fucked up because this is the company that Axel Braun and stuff came from. So
yeah,
they do
exactly.
parodies.
That's what I'm saying. They should have a parody up right now.
Yeah, you think they would actually do that though? Come on.
Of course.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
A long time ago. A long time ago.
Oh, they will. I think they're just scrambling at this point. I can't believe it's taken them this long. And I agree with Verbal, like, because I just checked it yesterday because of the story. We did a video on it too, you know, for science. But like,
I mean,
for business purposes,
get some green skin paint and make that movie real quick, man. I mean,
just slap it on.
Just recut one of the old 100 Wizard of Oz porns there are out there.
Dude, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of Wizard of Oz.
That's what I'm saying.
There,
Tell us again, Verbal, how you know all these things about.
I mean, look,
are you into
I'm just a guy who knows things? That's all.
You're telling us now.
We luckily have Google, so you can say, "Hey, I Googled it." Right? Yeah. Like back in the day, if Verbal knew this shit 20 years ago, we'd be like looking at him going, "This motherfucker's got a porn addiction."
I think Verbal just told us that he's into Munchkinland.
Hey, I am. No.
Munchkinland, yes.
Midget porn is awesome and hard to find.
Moving on. Midget. They throw them and then they
don't look them in the eyes.
Well, you can't look them in the eyes.
I love that fucking movie. Oh my god, that was one of the last non-woke movies to come out of Hollywood. Was The Wolf of Wall Street. It's funny because that just made the news again because of Margot Robbie. Did you see that? She's like, yeah, the nude scene was my idea.
I love her. I love that. I love that.
Mexican Iron Man coming in for $5. I'm suing all 3 of you bigots for all these truth bombs. You 3 are hurting my fifis and making me emotionally fragile in this new MAGA world. Hello to you, the intrepid producer. Waiting for you to jump on any day. Miss you.
Yeah, get in here, brother. We miss you.
You know what, though? The Wicked package reminded me of. It was this person. Someone had complained about this. This dude was at Starbucks. If you haven't seen this, is
no, I haven't. I don't think so. Oh, what the hell? That's cool.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
I was like, I want one of those shirts.
Nice.
But the person went and was complaining about it. He's like, oh, it was hurt. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be something, you know. For what? It's a dude in a Starbucks having a cup of coffee. And they're like, they didn't expect it. It just was not in the realm of possibility. It also, it's kind of like goes along with something else I never thought I would read in the realm of possibility.
I got to figure out how to do those things. Like I see everybody can do those now. Not the shirts part, but just the little code things. Because I would come up with some funny shit like that.
Yeah, it is Ames S, the best shirt ever.
I would hide those everywhere.
That was cool. Oh, Mexican Ironman says, thanks for the kind words. No, he's talking to Ames S. He's here. Cool. But Daniel Craig kind of came out of the closet, but he kind of unmasked himself a little bit about his feelings on.
Well, he is in that new movie Queer.
Yes, and by what I was reading about it, it is on the level. The sex scenes are on the level of Bros. But what he was talking about here is Daniel Craig rose to international superstardom with his turn as James Bond, but the actor now says he had some reservations about accepting the role, with the biggest being the character's construct of masculinity. Speaking with the New Yorker about his upcoming LGBTQ-themed movie Queer, Craig said he struggled with accepting James Bond's persona as a globe-trotting, debonair ladies' man. I would say one of the biggest reservations about playing Bond would be the construct of masculinity. It was often very laughable, but you can't mock it and expect it to work. You just have to buy into it. So, how many times is Craig going to attack Bond? I'm just curious. The movie that made him a star.
He's been such a disappointment, man.
Yeah, he has. But he was doing it for 20 years. It has made him his money. It made him his name. I mean, he did Layer Cake before that. He did a lot of little films, but he was only known among very few circles. You know, he was known in the UK and people who understood and watched those films. But it is Bond that broke him out, you know, and he's been attacking it in one form or another. Before he did the last Bond, what did he tell everybody? That he would rather die than ever do it again?
Then good. Like, he needs to just quit then. Just quit and stop taking their money.
Right.
And just fucking quit, man. Like go do Broadway or go do whatever show tune you want to go do, but stay out of it then, man. Now here's the problem though. I feel like we are living in a post-Bond era. I feel like the era of James Bond, the Bond that we know and love, the masculine, you know, drinking martinis and banging hot chicks.
Hell yeah.
That era of Bond for us is gone. I think that Bond only works in the Cold War. It just doesn't work now. You know, maybe they should come up with a new franchise, I think. And honestly, the last couple of Bond movies are so bad that they might as well just quit anyway.
Wait, what are you talking about? A new Bond franchise, like a sensitive Bond?
No, I'm saying no. I'm talking about just a different type
means
of
like the 100
movie.
ones they've tried to start.
Just a different type of
just
spy movie. Now, just leave James Bond alone, right? Let us just let it end.
But don't you think we're going to get back to those types of films again? Now that
look, in this day and age, we're not going to get back to the Bond we love, man. We're not going to get back to the, you know, cigarette smoking, lady chasing, you know, killer that we all know and love, right? We're never going to get that Bond again, unfortunately.
But it'd have to be the way I've said it, and that is basically they have to look. I'm not a Bond fan, so I have to say that up front. It's not because I don't like the character. I like the character just fine. It was just never a big thing when my dad was into, so I didn't grow up with Bond like a lot of other guys did. So I'm just finally starting to watch the films, and I've only seen like the first 5. So I haven't seen any of these Daniel Craig Bond movies. And as far as I understand by them, they kind of start and end, obviously, in their own little world. But the other Bonds were always like a different actor coming in and kind of picking up the role in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think they need to do is kind of just go back and stay in the 60s.
Yes.
Don't leave the 60s. Just do retrofuturism, kind of come up with the gadgets and the cool stuff that made Bond, and then you can have the excuse for him to be that ladies' man and smoking the cigar and drinking the martini and all that kind of business, and it won't be such a thing because it's a period piece. And you could just keep bringing in new actors, and you just never leave that era, which they should have done with Indiana Jones. Let's be real. I used to be of the mind of nobody can be Indiana Jones but Harrison Ford. But after the last 2 movies, I'm like, you know what? I wish they had just recast him. And the conversations we are having right now is which one is your favorite post Harrison Ford, you know, Indiana Jones at this point? Because if they just kept him in the 30s and 40s, then you could have just kept recasting him, you know, and had somebody else play him like they did with Bond. I don't see why Hollywood doesn't jump on that train a little bit more at this point. It's like you keep trying to do these things when that's maybe the exact, and I've said this with Trek too, because I have this weird feeling that the one thing that's going to catch on, and I don't think it's going to be a huge thing, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how it catches on here in the next few years, is retrofuturism. And it's funny because we were just talking about the Fantastic Four kind of being in that kind of world. So I think that might be one of the reasons why I'm not going to close the door on that one and say it's not going to be a hit. Because Star Trek, the stuff that sells is the retrofuturism stuff of Star Trek. And if they just get their heads out of their asses and realize it's right there in front of them, what could make Star Trek popular again is that pop retro 60s aspect. If you did that with Bond, I think it could work.
Yeah,
I think you could make it work.
It's one of the things in many ways that Casino Royale like built itself on. They went back to Bond's beginning and they showed him that, you know, Daniel Craig's first film.
But then from what I've heard is Yeah, they do that, but then the next film they go ahead and they call him a fucking dinosaur. It's like, well, wasn't the movie just before that? They just got him started.
Yeah, they're saying they did, but it really worked in Casino Royale. So I could see doing that kind of retro futurism back in the 60s. I think it would be great. I think that would be a good thing. But I wouldn't leave it up to. I wouldn't leave it up to Fleming's estate or the Broccoli's anymore.
Well, no, because they want to go black or women at this point.
It's not that. That, you know what? It's their ideology behind it, their thought process behind it. They need to just represent Bond. It's the same way they destroyed Doctor Who. Doctor Who was supposed to be that adventurous, British gentleman and they utterly annihilated it. I mean, annihilated it. David Tennant, one of my favorite. Baker, one of my favorite. And then we get crap. Anyway,
dude, Capaldi was my doctor, and when he left, I was done.
I watched one episode with I can't remember the actress name. I don't want to Jodie whatever Smith was it? Jodie Walker, Jodie something. The one who
Whittaker,
came Dr. Karen, Jodie Whittaker. Yeah. Dr. Karen, yeah, pretty much.
Doctor Who might be another franchise that's saved by doing similar things too, by going back to its roots and kind of going back to a kind of like, oh, this is the feeling in the because what worked for Star Wars, like we were just talking earlier, Verbal liked Rebel 1, right? Well, why does Rebel 1 work for most people? Rogue One, sorry. Because it's the most retro feeling of the Star Wars films. Like they went out of their way to try and make sure it felt like it happened just before A New Hope. And I have my issues with the movie, but overall, the aesthetic of it, I'm like, oh yeah, it feels like we're just about to step into the world of A New Hope. So they nailed that aspect of it. And those are the things I think that work, that when people want to see those things, that they like those things, when you pay attention to the details and the little things, the nerd porn, basically, right? Like, we care about those things. Sure, the general audience doesn't.
Also, let it be known, man. I mean, we got to state the facts that, hey, Rogue One was female led, right? It was a strong, quote unquote, female character who was the leader of the movie. And you know what? She was written so well that didn't matter. It didn't matter that she was a female. She was just a very well-written character. You know what I mean? Now, it's weird that Disney has gone through this weird, metamorphosis of trying to recreate the strong female character when they already did it with Rogue One.
Before. Yeah, they've already done it before. But see, again, they've laid out the map of what they can do, and they just keep going down. That's why I said when you start, there's a pattern that emerges when you meet radicals or you understand them, who their product, who their message is, that 90% of the time they have to pretend like they do not know something in order to move forward. Because if they were to admit the fact, oh, we already had Princess Leia, we've already had it Rogue One, we've had Jen, and we've had these characters, well, then they're going to be, they don't have justification for moving forward and what they want to do. So they always have to put their head in the sand and go, oh, this has never happened before. It was racist, bigoted, misogynistic, and all that. It's the same way I was a little bit surprised that you had Squid Game actor Lee Jung-jae finally came out and said, he was a little shocked by all the racism against the Acolyte. I was like, what racism against the Acolyte? That was just a shit series.
They keep using that word. I don't think they know what it means.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, he says it right here. My feelings were hurt. I'm like, oh,
this reminds me of every other time that they've had somebody. This feels like it's built into the contract or something. Like,
what,
look at to say this kind of shit. Like even more recently with the Wicked thing with the chick who's in the wheelchair, and it's like, well, this is the problem with a lot of this stuff is you can't. If you cast somebody or put somebody in a movie based on their traits and who they are as an individual, on their skin or their sex or their sexual orientation or even their handicap in the matter of the Wicked character, you can't say anything about the said character without them taking it as a personal attack of some kind. And they spin that.
And what was weird about the Wicked situation with that handicap character was that, or actress, is that they were attacking the character, not her. Like
exactly.
Like literally attacking the character. Because the character, was not the greatest person in the movie. And they were attacking the character, and she
Verbal. This is the character that Ding Dong the Witch is Dead was written about.
Yes.
That's it.
The villain.
Yeah.
Or will become one. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My point. Yes.
Anyway, so I think he disgraced.
But I was
himself a
just
little bit.
trying to say, like, like people, did they forget this? Like,
they do. They purposely do that. So they can be able to say what they want to say. They go, we don't know things, we don't see things, we've never heard it, we've never done it, and therefore they can continue pushing their crap.
Well, this guy does he even, he barely speaks English, so you
he learned it for the Acolyte.
Well, yeah, but I think somebody put this in his head. I don't think he thinks this shit.
Well, he's doing the same thing that they made Ewan McGregor do, right?
The hostage video.
Like yes, they made Ewan McGregor do the same thing when Obi-Wan came out because of what's her name? I can't remember the actress' name, but Reva.
Oh, Reva. Yeah, I don't know. She's gone now. Wherever that.
Does he speak English now, or does he speak like Jackie Chan English?
I don't think he really. Yeah, I don't think he really speaks English. I think he learned his lines. I think he learned
exactly.
His
That's
lines.
Jackie Chan English, where he can't really understand it. He just mimics whatever you tell him to say.
Look, man, I'm not going to sit here and say that. Look, I'm sure that the actresses probably received some level of racist shit on their timeline, right? I mean, I'd like for them to prove it, but here's the thing. The internet is full of assholes. Social media is full of assholes. Of course, you're going to have a small minority of assholes who are going to attack the actors personally, right? That comes with the internet. That comes with being on social media. I get attacked and I'm not even famous. So, you know what I mean? Like, you will get that level sometimes.
It's just life.
You live with it, man. You grow a thick skin and you live with it. It's not. Look, you got paid for being in a big budget movie. So that you were paid for that. You were not just for the movie. You were paid for all the insults you're probably going to get.
And he's doing it again, and he won't mind. That's the thing. I wish they would. It would be better if they just shut up. But you know what? I like it when they come out because it shows us who they are. Either it's what they really believe, or they're able to be pushed around and bullied. I like to know who people are. I don't like to hear it from them. I wish actors would just stick to acting. If not, they want to say it, let them go. Let them go. We've already seen what the cost of that is with Rachel Zegler and Brie Larson before, who actually learned.
Rachel Zegler is the gold standard of this right now.
She is. I thought Brie Larson was, but her spiritual love child just like takes the cake. I mean, you've never seen anything like it. But at least Larson learns, Oh,
Brie Larson feels like a dream compared to Rachel Zegler, man.
I remember watching Jeremy.
She's actively trying to kill her career.
I don't think she's actively trying to kill her career. I think she's actively trying to destroy. I don't know if it's the movie itself or she believes she's so self-righteous that she's untouchable. Again, when you read that apology, it's like I went through her Instagram post because for my last video, I wanted to understand like the thought process. I'm like, okay, so it's a narcissist. Okay, we get that. She's arrogant. Okay, get that too. She's young. All right, so you combine all those three together. But when you read the majority of her posts, grammar's off, capitalization's off. She strings words together. Then you read the apology, and you're like, this had to come out of Disney. This had to, because it's just this cold corporate apology. It's almost like she was forced to read it.
Which she was.
I made an error when I was heated.
She was definitely forced to make that apology.
But that should wake her up going, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? Because she got a phone call. Somebody called her, whether it's Disney calling her agent and them talking to her, someone did it. But she doesn't.
Dude, I guarantee you, man, that the time is coming, the day is coming when her agent is going to stop taking her calls and she is going to regret her life every day after that.
Well, she's going to learn a lesson. She's going to end up in indie film, just like Kristen Stewart.
Or Broadway.
But you know what'd be funny? If it ended up being Broadway, again, she takes both sides in every issue except for woke. She just keeps her rants up. But when it comes to movies, when she first did West Side Story, she said, you know what? I've wanted to do movies my whole life, even though she was 17 years old. After West Side Story, she goes, I've wanted to be in theater my whole life. I can't stand movies. I want theater. I want theater. I want theater. So she goes, I think if she ended up in theater, she would be happy with it.
Then maybe she needs to go back to it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with these kids. And this is, I think we had this. Did we have this conversation on your show Sunday, George, or was it a different show we were talking about? Where I do feel like, yeah, the biggest problem with a lot of these kids and why they kind of believe some of this stuff, like I can see where a Moses Ingram or, Rachel Zegler could believe they're being treated in some way, or even this chick in the wheelchair could be feeling like she's treated this way. Because a lot of these kids, if you ever notice them, none of them have really seemed to have had hard upbringings. Most of them are either drama kids themselves of some sort, or have been brought up in the community because their parents are in the industry somewhere, or so they don't know real adversity. They don't know what it's like to have to actually, pay bills. Like they jet set their whole life. Like Rachel Zegler, like I doubt she's ever had to really worry about anything in her life. So
No.
the first time these people come to Hollywood and they actually start to get rejection, I'm sure that they feel like, well, it's got to be because of my skin color. It can't be, or I'm a woman, or I'm gay, or I'm this, or I'm that, because I know I'm good, right? Like they think they are because they've been told their whole entire life they're special.
Yeah.
She has that. Definitely a participation trophy winner.
But also, she's a rich theater kid, man. So like, she's never been told no a day in her life.
That's what I figured. That's
spoiled rotten. She's spoiled rotten, and she's admitted it herself. It's not a great leap to make. I've shared this story multiple times. She did a Tiffany's. She went to.
Are you saying she grew up in a middle class home?
Am I saying? I don't actually know if they're middle or middle upper class, because she said
that was the whole Kamala thing. But
yeah, she went and did a Tiffany's benefit, their anniversary for the jewelry, and she was explaining the fact that she's had Tiffany's since she was pretty much born. Like at the age of 2, her dad got her a diamond tiara, and at 5, another one, and then diamond earrings, and the whole. Because the Tiffany's, the reporter was asking her, "How does it feel here to be here today? Representing Tiffany's?" She goes, "Oh, well, I've had this stuff since I was a baby." Anyway, so that's who Rachel Zegler is. She's also the person, if you remember, who turned down Hunger Games' ballot of board writing and boredom. She turned it down because she said she didn't want to do it. She had no interest in doing it. So they went and hired, because they said they only wanted her. She rejected it. She went to try to go after another film. Then they hired another actress, and she turned around later without explaining it. My only guess is that whatever film project she wanted to do instead either fell through or got pushed back. So she came back begging for that job, right? She tells us in a video, which I shared, it must have been 7 months ago, this little clip, which is now hard to find online, where she says, "Yeah, I really felt bad, but then I called him up and said, yes, I would love to do this role." And all of a sudden, after she gets the job and accepts it, she starts talking about how she's the biggest Hunger Games fan. It's like, it's all this hypocrisy rolled together. And you're like, can you just keep it to yourself?
I feel bad for the chick that got fired. I'd like to
I
know
do.
who that was.
I never found out. I've always tried to find out, because the director said they wanted only Zegler. When she turned
Wouldn't it be
down,
ironic if that's the one they hired for the Bear movie that she got, the Paddington?
Oh, the Paddington 3.
Wouldn't that be irony of ironies?
That would be.
Kind of like the whole Conan / Game of Thrones thing.
Yeah.
Irony of, for those who don't know what I'm talking about real quick, the two guys who were going to do Conan for Amazon, they never got it done because of what's-her-face over there at Amazon, but they ended up coming over to HBO Max and doing the Game of Thrones show for them, and it was a huge hit, which kicked the shit out of Rings of Power at the same time. So, yeah. Cool. So there's kind of irony of ironies that, yeah, you had those guys. They could have made the show for you, but you didn't.
It would have been great. And it would have been great, but you got Jennifer Salke, who can't stand men.
Salke, that's who it is. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, she's just crazy. And in our last part, till we move on, talking about the culture and country, we got Viggo Mortensen asked to return, which we already knew he's been asked to return to, The Hunt for Gollum. And I got to say, I was looking forward to this so much. I haven't seen Where They Were Hearing, but I'm going to see it when it opens. I hope I'm wrong, but don't think I am. Viggo Mortensen asked to return for The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. There's been a lot of talk about Andy Serkis's upcoming The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, which would reunite the original cast. This I didn't know. I know Ian McKellen, but now they've also been talking to Orlando Bloom and supposedly Sean Bean. And I'm like, huh? They're like bringing everybody back in one capacity or another. And Orlando Bloom have stated they've been asked to return in their respective roles, and now we can add another important actor. In an interview with the playlist, the Lord of the Rings writer Philippa Boyens talks about how The Hunt for Gollum features a prominent role for Aragorn, and they hope to have Viggo Mortensen return. Except they come down here and they say that that they're not talking about using AI. It says, I know Andy wants to work with Viggo. She's with him. But also, we don't see this as like using AI technology. This is about digital makeup. And whether a Viggo does it or will entirely depends on how good the script is. and he doesn't have a script yet. The script is supposed to be
so
finished
what
in
they're
January.
talking about here is basically the same thing they did for that Star Trek thing. That's the way they should have explained it, I think.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like what Toy Productions did with their Octane. God, we had I'm gonna bring him on probably this week or next week. There's someone in the chat because I explained before that I want to start bringing people from the chat onto the show when we hit on a certain subject. I think it's well, you're part of Slayer Nation. You have something that you love, an expertise in, a passion. I'd love to hear you talk about it and share that. And one of our members here actually uses Otoy software and knows a lot about it and is in the industry. And I can't wait till we can have him on. So we're moving on from Vigo, and then we heard today another bit of news as we move around America, telling us how things are still crazy. It's sad. I didn't expect, I'll tell you this before I jump to this, I didn't expect Orlando Bloom or Sean Bean to come back, but now it also looks like Elijah Wood. Like they're almost trying to bring the crew back so they can get that money.
And this is kind of what I was trying to tell you, George. Like I would, look, most people are not going to pay attention to the War of Rohirrim, right? It's a cartoon to them. It doesn't mean shit. What means shit to people is going to be the live action Gollum movie.
Yep.
Because that's basically like a Rogue One, if you think about it, because it takes place right in that region. And that's the beauty of this is for them, they can finagle all these characters into the story somehow. So it all depends on how it's handled. It's up to Peter Jackson on that one. And I think that's the ones we're going to have to pay more attention to than, and we got to remember, I can make 20 excuses for War of Rohirrim, but the thing is it was made at a time when they needed to get the rights retainer. It was made at a time when the Legion of Leaders over at Warner Brothers was give us a bunch of womans. So
I hear what you're saying. I don't, and I would apply that rule to anyone except for Peter Jackson. Because
this one sounds like the boys are getting back together to play in the band. That's
I'm
concern.
worried about Philippa Boyens. I'm worried about her.
Here's my concern. I did not care for The Hobbit.
I didn't like it at all.
I didn't like The Hobbit.
I don't think anybody really
so
did.
You got that, and then you got the War for him. I don't know if I trust Peter Jackson at this point. Like I really don't. Like I'm kind of like.
That's where I'm at.
I'm not saying he hasn't hit Ridley Scott for me yet, but I don't know. He's kind of working his way up there. You know what I mean?
I'm with you there. That's why I'm saying I have to see Rohirrim, and I want to hear an interview with him, which he hasn't done, and he typically does for his films. It was the reasoning. The reasoning behind it is what triggered all the warning bells for me. When Philippa Boyens said she wanted to work with her daughter, I'm like, cool. Trust Philippa Boyens. Then the interview, she's like, we decided to give a voice to all the women who are voiceless in the world. I'm like, that's not part of the fucking story. Go through Tolkien and you can find that. It's not even that. It shows the mindset we wanted. We were going to bastardize Tolkien and apply all the characteristics from the key characters in the story we picked to this person. So I'm wondering, have they changed? Because when you watch the hours upon hours of Blu-ray, the special, the behind the scenes, whether it's Philippa Boyens or Peter Jackson.
Yeah, but they added female characters and beefed up female characters. So like that part, I'm not going to totally flinch until I see the film, but I get you.
Okay. They did add it, but they didn't pervert the story. They beefed up the roles because they weren't written. They took a non-existent character and built a whole movie around her. That's why I'm waiting to see it. And they admit it. They're not hiding it. The poster shows it. The interview tells it. And I don't understand, and I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. Hopefully with another couple of interviews when Jackson finally does them. I want to understand his mindset because he doesn't need to bend the knee to anyone.
Well, I'm sure that whatever ideas he had for the Amazon show are probably put into this. That's probably why. And they probably ran with what they did on Amazon because that's part of where Peter either like keyed into certain things or said certain things. And again, until I see the movie, I'll be able to speak to it more.
Yeah,
but I never watched the Lord of the Rings of the Power show. So I watched 10-15 minutes of it. And as soon as God, I just forgot his name, was sitting in the tree doing the poetry shit. Whenever that happened, I just turned it off. I was done.
Well, we also had
Elrond.
I'm gonna wait. I'm with you, Verbal. I don't know what's up with Peter. I'm gonna wait to see it. I'll make my decision, and then it'll inform me what's going on with Hunt for Gollum. I think it will.
I mean, look, if the trailer's good enough, and it
I'm
feels
gonna
right.
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, if it feels right, I'll go watch it. I'm skeptical. I'm just kind of giving it a side eye for right now until I see more.
I agree. But does it concern you at all? Because I know I don't want to beat this horse to death, but does it concern you at all the fact that Jackson would executive produce something like this if it turns out the way you and I think?
Which one?
The War of the Rohirrim. I'm talking about War of the Rohirrim.
Oh, well, I mean,
the flip flop. If it turns out the way,
man, I honestly, we don't really know why this movie was made. You get what I'm saying?
Other than rights retainer.
Well, other than rights retainer, right? Because my thing is, they have to know it's probably not going to do very well in the box office. Like, here's the thing: even if it was great, it just probably wouldn't, move the needle either way in the box office. So
no, not really.
It's kind of like they just threw this out there for no real reason.
That's what I'm getting at. And I think it was you, George, who was asking me, like, don't you think it's going to be a big deal to, like, no, I don't think it's going to register so much on the Lord of the Rings, other than to major Lord of the Rings fans, because my prime example for that was that Clone Wars animated film they put out for Star Wars. And that was right on the heels of, I think, episode 3 or whatever it was. So you would think if there was going to be a time where a Star Wars animated film would be bigger than ever, it'd be then. And nobody went to see it. Nobody cared.
Right.
Like, because unfortunately, when it comes to America, a good portion of adults don't see animated entertainment as adult entertainment. Or
I agree with you there. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm going to his mindset behind it.
Oh, I'll tell you his mindset, George. Here's the thing: this animation takes a long time to make, right? This movie was made years ago, or it started being made years ago.
At least 2 to 3 years
let's say
ago.
at least 3 or 4 years, right? This is during the heart of the woke era.
That's what I was saying.
Like he probably really had no choice, and rather than just keep arguing with them back and forth, he just probably said, "Fine, do what you want. I'm going to be making this other movie anyway, so yeah, I'll sign off on it. Yeah, you guys want a female hero? Sure, why not? Go nuts, right?
Yeah, this
because
is the
I think
bridge
Peter
to
Jackson
those,
knows the animation doesn't really matter in the minds of most movie-going people,
right? So
that's kind of what I'm saying too. Is I think this is a bridge for him to get to do the Gollum movie, which is something he's discussed. It's popped up a few times, so this is something has been on the back of his mind for a while, and it makes you wonder what his other movie is he's got coming up that's planned, because he's supposed to be directing the one after Gollum, and nobody knows anything about what that's supposed to be. You might know something about it more than I do, George.
It's supposed to be a Strider story, a Viggo Mortensen story. That's one of them, and the other one I'm told is it's supposed to be about Sauron, something that they pull from different sections of the books and make.
And again, the Sauron thing makes me feel like he was bringing some stuff to the table at Amazon, and then when they, ghosted him, he's like, all right, well, I'm going to use that stuff for my idea now.
Right.
And you don't know. And this is what I was saying is I want to believe that there's some of Peter Jackson left in there somewheres, because you guys are right. Like, over the last few years, as far as technical wise, I've seen the man not only destroy his own work, but other people's work with this fucking AI technology that he uses for, remastering things. And I don't like that, but I want to hope and believe that somewhere in there's a guy that, wants to make a really good Lord of the Rings story. And if the Gollum movie is what we're hoping it's going to be, because it could be, that could be like the Rogue One of this universe if it's done well, and even better than if it's done well, because you got Andy Serkis, and that's what I'm saying. You're basically getting the band back together. You got Andy Serkis, you got, Gandalf's back, you got, you're probably going to have Strider back in there or whatever, Viggo Mortensen. So, like, I mean, this is something where Legolas is coming back. I mean, who's next? Like you said, Frodo? Like, yeah.
Okay. It's supposed to be Frodo, Sauron. He wants to go into that. But
if he brings all those guys back, man, just nostalgia factor alone is going to
That's what I'm saying. I don't hear any girl names in that. Yeah. Other than maybe Liv Tyler, but is she getting a little up there in years too? I don't know.
Well, I think she could pull it off.
She's younger than Viggo.
But she is younger than Viggo. But I don't think
point. But Viggo is one of those guys who's unnaturally good looking for his age.
I agree.
Right? Like I've made the argument, and that's why I think they're saying what they're saying in that article, George. Because I've made the argument, all you got to really do with him is really just do more makeup work than you do CGI work to make him look younger. Throw a wig on him, boom. He's 20 years, 30 years younger right now.
I hope so. I hope it goes well because I would love anytime Tolkien is done right. You know me. I love it. Now we're going to move on. A 21-year-old.
Orlando Bloom, not so much. They might need more work for him. Sorry.
Right as I was transitioning.
I know.
Well, speaking of transitioning,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you got this 21-year-old who's modeled for Chanel, Stella McCartney, and Victoria's Secret. Just won Model of the Year.
Oh, I saw that bullshit.
I'm the first trans woman to win this award.
What? I was going to say, that's a dude. That ain't no woman.
Yeah.
Wait, he won Model of the Year.
Yep.
And specifically the black trans women that really fought for this.
Men still doing shit better than women, see?
Dominique Jackson, Connie Fleming, Aaron Rose Phillips, and countless more who fought for the space that allowed me to flourish today, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Bravo.
I also can't accept this award without thanking my parents. I remember being 12 years old and telling them that I wanted to join this industry, and they met me with support. And that's something that I think.
Yes, you were 12 years old.
How did they get their voice like that? I can't. That's just scary.
I know. But it tells you there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we won the election. Things are looking better. You can breathe easier, but there's a lot of work to do.
I just can't wait for women to realize that basically all this is doing is proving that men are better than everything. They're doing everything. Like even being women at this point.
The thing is we have, like I was saying, a lot of work to do. Where it's come from, where it's gone, this kind of like level of, this level of insanity. Today, the Supreme Court was hearing a case about the Tennessee law trying to ban certain drugs for children. And just take a look at some of why elections matter, your Supreme Court justices, right? This was some of the answers they were giving today.
Cannot eliminate the risk of detransitioners. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, Counselor. Every medical treatment has a risk.
That's Sonia Sotomayor.
Even taking aspirin. There is always going to be a percentage of the population under any medical treatment that's going to suffer a harm. So the question in my mind is not, do policymakers decide whether one person's life is more valuable than the millions of others who get relief from this treatment? The question is, can you stop one sex from the other?
So she compares it to an aspirin, having side effects in an aspirin. And then you have Ketanji Jackson Brown's answer.
Drawn by the statute. The starting point was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classification.
So you get that, Verbal? They're saying that if you're not allowed to transition, it's the same as discriminating against.
You know what's funny, man, is like they're going to keep saying stuff like this until Trump is sworn in. Like right now, all we're doing is getting all of this stuff. These men winning the Model of the Year and all this. They're trying to pack it all in before Trump takes office, right? Because they know these shenanigans are going to end, man. They're going to end after January, so they're trying to just pack all this garbage in. And honestly, what they're trying to do is they're trying to stick it to us for voting Trump back in. Right.
Okay.
They are. They're trying to stick it to us, right? It's like, having a guy win, two guys have won. Two guys this week have won Model of the Year.
Right.
So it's to stick it to us. Like, oh, you guys want to vote for Trump? Guess what we're going to do? We're gonna take even more opportunities away from actual women.
Yeah, it's crazy what's going on. Hold on, Mexican Iron Man's coming back with $5. Anyone that messes with kids is flat out satanic and demonic. So glad I left the Democrat Party. What a bunch of assholes and delusional tards. I'm with you there, brother. 100% all the way. This is for Mexican Iron Man. As always,
I keep saying, man, if women, this is a battle. This is a fight for women, man. More women just have to stand up, because the thing is, us guys can say all we want to, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? But until women start making their stand against this, like as a whole, not just Riley Gaines and like 2 other women, but like
everybody,
but all of them, until they start doing it, man, this kind of dumb shit is going to keep happening.
But let me tell you how bad it is. A few days ago, the New York Times referred to women as what? Former female sports greats, media figures, and even a conservative lawmaker tore into a recent New York Times article for referring to women as non-transgender women. You had Martina Navratilova went crazy. New York Times, you stink. We are women, not transgender women, just women. We'll do in the future. So they're trying to reset the bar by saying, no, they're not women. They're non-transgender women.
I'm already confused on which means which.
See,
and then you tell me it's a trans woman. I'm like, you mean it's somebody who was a woman is now a man, or a man is now a woman?
I think it goes with, do you take crazy with that or not crazy? You know, it's like,
no, dude, it's all crazy. It's all mental illness that we are not only entertaining, we're encouraging it in this country, right? We're encouraging people to be fucking crazy, and I refuse to play along, dude. Like, I'm not going to play along. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. 2 men won female models of the year.
You can do that verbal, but we can't.
But again, no. Oh, are you kidding, Tom? Are you kidding? I'm a straight black man. I'm as bad as a straight white man in the eyes of.
I was joking about the spade thing. Is what I was joking about.
What?
Because that's what they're saying, right? It's like,
no, I know, no. I did not mean to derail you there. That was so bad.
Oh, no. But it's funny because it's true though. It's like it's. Look, man. They could play these reindeer games all they want, but I'm not going to play along.
But that's the only way, is to not play along and then to fight back. You got to remove yourself from the insanity, because right now, I think the election, it showed us one thing, is that it's time that the lunatics stop running the asylum. You know, it's like.
But see, they know their time is limited, man. I'm telling you, after January, once Trump is sworn in, there's going to be a shift. You know what's going to be funny? What's going to be funny this year or next year? Women's Month. Women's Month next year is going to be wild, man. March is going to be crazy, because this past March, trans women won every award in the book that should have gone to like actual women. So I can't wait to see what happens next year.
I think next year is going to be the start of like July the 4th every day. I mean, we're going to have fireworks, and I mean in a good way. We're going to have fireworks because the media is going to do everything they can to stop them. But I think the progress is going to come so hard and so fast that we're going to get a lot of people who used to be enemies, whether they're doing it only to save their asses, they're going to come on board, or whether they've had a real change of heart. Because you can't keep up with this. None of this trans insanity would have happened without support from a lot of the liberal women's causes. They wouldn't. And you see, look at J.K. Rowling, who used to be a beloved figure of the left. Beloved. I mean, she was kind of like their banner, their flag. The minute she comes in,
this shit runs so much. It runs so much deeper, George, than what people realize, man. Mm-hmm. And this is what got me in trouble with Black Lives Matter. You know, when they all banned me, when they all like started coming after me, because I was calling them out on a lot of shit when it came to the money, to the finances, right? To all the donations they got. Dude, you realize a lot of their donations didn't go to black people, didn't go to the victims of quote unquote police brutality. The money went to LGBTQ and trans issues. That's where the donation money went. Well, along with their mansions and houses that they bought too. But a lot of the money, no one black got the money except the people involved and their gay buddies.
Right. But we see how that's going. There's actually a couple of cases looking at all the smurfing that happened with Black Lives Matter and Act Blue, you know, how they were handling a lot of the donations. It's we're living in interesting times.
Oh yeah.
Nick the Greek for $2. You mess with kids, you go to the wood chipper.
I agree.
Based. Truth. No other way about it. So the New York Times thing, it infuriated the hell out of me reading that. I mean, I'm not a woman, but I was like, I can't imagine how the little girls feel to be told. Because you know that there are people out there who are actually telling them that, you're no longer a woman. You're a non-transgender woman.
Well, I can't even believe this is an issue at this point. Like, I mean, I can't believe it takes somebody like J.K. Rowling to make people realize how crazy this shit is, because this is what's going to be funny over the next few years when we finally get the Harry Potter series. People are going to remember how lefty she is.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because get ready for the Captain Planet casting for the...
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, don't be surprised when you get a very diverse looking group in the Harry Potter school next year.
You know, one thing, you know what I will say, if Rowling approves of it, I will say that she's the author, she's the creator of that world.
She's pushing for it. That was my point with it.
No, I
understand.
understand.
Heard about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I did. But the thing is she's the creator of the world, right? It may not be what I like, it may not be what I want, but she has the right to do that in her show. She does in her show, in her book. So I have no problem with that. If it turns people off, they're just not going to watch it, and she will have stuck up for whatever she believes in and push something that's not embraced by the.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't see an issue with it, honestly.
But I don't think she'll sacrifice.
Actually, there is an issue though, man, and I think Ryan Kendall said it, man. Where he said like you can't make Hermione a black girl, man, when they're calling her a mudblood.
No, you can. I mean, I never thought of that. That's a good one. That is a good
point.
Like,
but,
I mean,
overall,
okay, you know what? Here's the thing.
I mean,
Here's the thing. If they do it, they got balls.
They
got balls if they go through with this.
That being said, though, other than that, I mean, really, there's no real set in stone reason why it can't be. It's not like Harry Potter's a 50-year-old franchise set in a specific time period.
Right.
Or so like that. I mean, it's something that you could, without any real reason to have an explanation, have a pretty diverse group of people in it, or at least should be maybe a little more diverse than it probably was before you could argue, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't even be an issue, man. Like, the thing is, look, this is Harry Potter we're talking about, and I guess for me, because I'm not a huge fan, I don't have any skin in the game, so I almost don't care what they do. I will say this though,
that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah,
this is J.K. Rowling's baby. This is her. This is her story. So, like, if she wants to make the changes, then that's on her. And if they succeed, great. And if they don't, well, she still has a mountain of money to sleep on.
The biggest problem Harry Potter, not to go off too far on this thing, but the biggest problem Harry Potter has going for it, because I'm like you, Verbal, I'm not, it's way past my time. So like, and my kid was never into it, so I have zero skin in the game at all. I've only seen part of the first film. But I feel like it's either this, you have to either reboot it from scratch like she's doing here with the series and do it as a TV series, which is smart year by year, or you do it as kind of like Cobra Kai, where you bring back the original cast as adults now and it's their kids being taught, and you have like Harry Potter and a couple of the other kids maybe being teachers at the school. Because otherwise, that's the only way you can make this work.
Oh, Radcliffe would never come back, dude.
That's the problem you have there. And I agree with you. And but
she hates him.
But my point is somebody did make this point once when I brought this point up before as a Harry Potter fan. They did make that point. They're like, look, the problem you have here with this is that you have a whole generation of people that grew up with these people playing these characters. And I can't argue that point, right? Like, that is a very valid point. You have very few franchises that were as long and as big as Harry Potter were at the time, to where, you know, you could make an argument kind of like with Wizard of Oz. That's why the Wicked thing is a problem, because the MGM film is so ingrained in our mind that's what's made it so difficult for Oz to become a franchise outside of that. And I could see that becoming, I don't want to be quick to jump to people and be like, oh, that's kind of the racist way of thinking. If they do jump that way, or be like,
I don't care what people think.
Yeah, I mean, that is what they want to think, and I can understand it coming from that basis. But I'm ready for it when they say that, oh, there's a bunch of racist istophobes out there because they can't accept.
Hers. I don't give a shit what happens to it. I have family who love Harry Potter. I've watched the movies, but it's like Tolkien. If Tolkien was alive and he said Rings of Power is it, I would be, he lost his fucking mind. He flipped out or got bought out because of the money, something. I know he would never do that based on how much he put into it. J.K. Rowling is alive. She has all the money in the world. It's her world. If she wants to change it, cool. People will decide for themselves. That's what everything is about, is choice. When we watch Star Wars and we bitch about it, what's the one thing we bitch about? Is because they changed it after they bought it, saying that they were going to continue it, meaning they don't want the established fans. They don't want the historical franchise that they actually bought. They want the name so they can build something new. Cool. Right. They're doing it. They have no audience. They're losing money on it. That's their choice. I don't like it. Rowling wants to go down this route. She's only going to help hurt her legacy in the future. If people,
but we also have to remember that Rowling is, I mean, outside of the trans stuff, she's very left leaning.
That's what I was saying. That's what got us down this path to begin with. Yeah,
I mean, it just so happens that she left the reservation when it came to the trans stuff, but for the most
that's what
part,
got us down this point. Yeah,
for the most part, she is a leftist, man.
Big time. I wrote her once because, funny enough, because I did several videos in her defense, and the first thing that I said is, you know, if she's listening right now, she would burn me at the torch. It's only in this one issue, which I respect some of her positions. I even respect the way that she fights the fight in the trans fight, because she has a lot of trans friends, a lot of groups that she supported that the left refuses to acknowledge.
Right.
He just
a lot of lesbians love her, man.
What? Because she's like, just don't take away from women. Do your thing, however you want to do it. But women are not going to become second-class citizens. I also do think that this has opened her eyes a little bit. I know she was a left-wing radical nutcase. But, you know, when things hit you on a personal level.
Well, and that's what got us to the point to begin with. And like I said, I can't even believe we've gotten to this point, but I'm not surprised that the women's rights and the kids thing is really kind of the breaking point for a lot of people. That and just being able to pay for fucking milk. Right.
Correct. But it's good though. It's good though that could you imagine if this wasn't the breaking point for people? Kids, women? I'm sorry. To me, every man's job is simple.
I'm a little depressed.
Protect women,
George.
Protect kids. Why?
To be honest, we shouldn't have gotten to the point where we should have got to this point to begin with, right? Because if honestly, like, it was more than just us out there saying shit to the prior few years to this all happening and coming to a head finally, like maybe, just maybe, some things would have been salvageable. But you know what? This is kind of one of those moments where I've been coming more. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but like I've been thinking about more and more about getting back into religion again, because I'm starting to believe more and more, because at this point it's like, man,
it's evil. It's evil.
Yeah, we've gotten to this point where shit is really hit a wall for me, going like, yeah, there's a right and a wrong, and there's a good and a bad. There's a light and a dark. You know, I used to think in a lot of grays, but I don't think that way anymore. And that's the way the left thinks. They think in a lot of grays.
They're postmodernists. They have no faith, no belief. That's why they come crash. Come on. Let's break it down simply. When Trump was not sworn into the White House for his second term after 2020, right? The left can say all day long, the six. Did you see people freaking out on social media every day? Oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to shave my twat. I'm going to shave my ass. I'm not going to sleep with women. I'm not going to sleep. You didn't see any of that. They're like, oh my God, people were upset. And like, we have to move forward. How are we going to live? How are we going to work? What are we going to do? How are we going to win?
The Republicans were talking about who they were going to bring in, and little did they know Trump was going to be the only choice. But like, at that time they were trying to think ahead. Exactly.
My point was, there was no meltdowns. There was no, you saw the CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated today. Y'all heard that?
Yeah, it's pretty bad when a hitman is cheaper than healthcare, though. I'll tell you that much right now.
Dude, I don't know if you guys saw that video, but that was,
I did. I'm not going to show it.
Chilling shit, man.
It is, it was but you know what?
You see the hitman ignore the witness that was watching the whole thing. The witness just ran by. He didn't even care. He was just
that was some Godfather shit right there. Verbal.
Yeah,
that's like, don't worry about the witnesses. They ain't going to be looking at you anyway.
Dude, it was crazy to watch that. I'm like, wow, he just literally.
He was a hitman.
The hit was put out, and he
looked pretty professional. Maybe not.
He had a suppressor,
but
he had a silencer on the gun.
Yeah, it was a suppressor. Yeah, it was a.
There's been some debate about it and stuff like that.
No, I looked at it. I've been in the gun since I was a kid. That was a suppressor.
That's crazy, man.
And when you listen to it, you can hear, because of the fact that it cuts the echo. The sonic boom, which is what it does. It's not like Hollywood. Most people think that the suppressors, the silencers, are just like a Hollywood movie where it's like no,
like a whistle.
Yeah, there's only two suppressors that do that. only two that I know of that
Yeah.
actually are exactly like Hollywood.
Well, people
And
were
then, well, let me 1 second. Let me finish. And but when you watch the video, not that I'm recommending it, it's new, so you can go check it out. But you see the guy, he just walks right up there, is leveling the pistol out, does his job, and goes away. This is not some wacko nut job who's like, you know. So plus he probably used, subsonic nickel Greek. Now, what's crazy about this is that it was just how, when you see everything that's happened in the last few days, right? Where you have Joe Biden, we all know he came out and pardoned his son. What'd you think of that, Verbal? Where you saw that and you see the DNC has been melting down.
Right. My thing is, man, I don't understand all the pearl clutching, right? And when I say that, I mean this.
Which side? Everywhere?
Everywhere, man. Like, I don't know why Republicans are pearl clutching. I don't know why the DNC's look, we all knew he was going to do it, right? And honestly, at the end of the day, I don't even care why he did it. It's his son. We all look, any one of us in our positions would have done the same thing if our son was in that situation. That's what it is, right? Not saying it's right. We just would have done it because that's how humans work, right? I get the hypocrisy of it. I get it. He lied. He said he wasn't going to do it, and he did it. At this point, I just want them to leave. I just want Joe to leave. Just leave. Like okay, pardon your son. You and your son go smoke crack together, live out the rest of your lives. I don't care, man. Just get out of the public domain. Leave. I don't care anymore, man. But I think people are going off about this stupid issue when we have bigger problems to worry about, man.
Well, we do
way bigger problems. Like I'm talking about on a worldwide level, man. There's some shit going on in some of these other countries, man. You know, my girlfriend lives in Korea and in South Korea, and there's some crazy shit going on right now. They're under martial law. There's some stuff going on. I don't care about Joe Biden pardoning his crackhead son. Just leave.
You want him out of there, but you don't think it matters the fact that he lied directly to the American people. I think this is the Republicans.
He's been lying. He's been lying to the American people for 4 years.
Is something like, I agree what Verbal's saying, but I'm kind of more on the other end of like, I understand that and I agree with everything you just said up until basically like the type of pardon he got is, I think, the bigger issue. And I think that's where the news is kind of obfuscating this and where they're, you know, because The View and other people are coming out and saying the same kind of thing you just said, basically, Verbal. When it's like, no, I think the bigger point is why is this such a, you know, blanket fucking pardon, clear the fuck back to 2014? Well, we all know the right answer to that, but we're not, that aside, like, yeah, I think that's just it. And what the things you're talking about are kind of related to that, in my opinion, because I think what he's doing is he's trying to start covering up, not just saving his son, but covering up all the shit that they've done for the last 10 fucking years. That's what part of this is involved with too.
Well, I agree with you there, Tom. And this all goes back to what Tom mentioned about 10 minutes ago. It all comes down to where have we strayed as a nation. You need faith. You need, whether you want to call it faith in the higher power, God, Yahweh, Hashem, it doesn't matter. Allah, Buddha, you have to know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. I mean, it's all around.
So Hunter Biden was arrested, or he got time for what? For lying on his gun application, right?
No, let's get this straight. Hunter Biden, okay? Hunter Biden had, and I went and was researching this. Hunter Biden had, okay, it's a 630-page report, okay? 191 crimes of an intimate nature, which I can't say the word, 128 drug crimes. And
that he was convicted for?
This whole thing involves, that he originally had made a plea deal for, that this report covers, that then the pardon covers. Not convicted. He was convicted for tax evasion. He was convicted for buying a weapon, buying a pistol, and lying on his form that he was taking drugs at the time. But he also had 140 business crimes. This is what this is all about. The judge that Biden attacked, and attacked indirectly through his statement, where he said the charges in this case came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress, instigated them. He goes on to talk about the judge. Hold on for my, here it is. The charges in his case came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom with a number of my political opponents in Congress. The judge came out today and eviscerated that, because the judge said when he looked at when it was he or she, I don't know, looked at the plea deal, it was like, it can't happen. You know why? His original plea deal gave him immunity for life going forward. Forget the past, it's forward. Now we all know why. It's because of the texts and the messages that came out on the laptop from hell. The big man gets his cut. The big man has to be spoken to. It's to cover their ass. My point is the Republicans are jumping all over this, not freaking out. I think that's the ones who are freaking out. That's all pretend. They're jumping for joy, because they know that this gives President Trump cover. So day one, when he goes, everybody on the 6 who just walked in and just took a picture or may have broken.
Yeah, no, exactly. He could pardon all of them.
And he said,
but unfortunately, it makes me wonder what they're distracting us with, right? And that's what I was getting at, Verbal, is what is this covering up? Now, the upside is if they find some other stuff, he can't plead the fifth now on certain charges or certain things. If he's brought into questioning, he won't get charged with anything.
Right.
But it could bring up some other people into the crosshairs, and he'd have to testify.
And you know what? Yep, you're right, Tom. Sorry.
But on the other end of this, I'm just saying, is like, what is it that he knows, or what is it they're covering up that's about to come out here in the next few months, years, that he's going to be now immune from because of this? And I mean, there's already enough stuff on that freaking hard drive, with that I'm not even going to mention on your stream, right? That bothers enough people. And I get it. Like, Verbal, like for the most part, in the grand scheme of things, he's a pissant. He's nothing. But to me right now, he feels like he's a distraction more than anything. It's like, what are they distracting from? And they're setting Trump up to be able to do this to pardon all the Jan 6 people and whoever else come day one. But to me, it's like, okay, we're looking at that as a win. So that's, to me, what's the fucking Trojan horse here?
Sure. No. And look, I am the king of tinfoil hats. I get it. And I know there's always more to the story, right? I just would rather dig into what that is than focus on Hunter Biden. That's a good point.
That's what we're going to be doing.
Hunter Biden is just, he's like you said, he's a smokescreen.
Let me tell you something. When I was digging into it so I could understand it more, because I want to talk about it in another special episode. Wow. Do you know that guy? I mean, we're talking about taking grifting to a whole other level. The art that he was making, they found his people who purchased it, right? The paint he was using was alcohol-based, okay? And because he was an alcoholic. And he actually mixed it with, okay, you don't want to hear this, mute your headphones, because I don't want to upset the chat. Well, I don't want to discuss you in case you're eating something. So you got 3 seconds, mute the headphones. 1, 2, 3. He made most of his artwork with his own shit, with his own feces. Somebody bought it and tested it. Imagine this. He would use his crack pipe in order to blow the paint on there using alcohol-based paints. I mean, everything was this massive, almost troll or grift saying, I can do whatever I want and I need to make money. It's nuts. It's not about what I view what Biden did. He wanted to screw the DNC for replacing him with Kamala.
Sure.
I don't think he gave it 2 shits about what it would do to them. 2, he obviously wanted to save his son. Everything else is BS. But to me, it empowers Trump to now move forward full steam ahead. Look, the other day he nominated, which I couldn't believe he did this dick-sucking, cock-sucking, pardon my language, this censor fiend who hates America, the sheriff from Florida, again, forgive me for my language, who used to arrest people during the lockdowns for walking right outside their home. And he had nominated him to the DEA, to head the DEA. 24 hours later, the guy's like, oh, I realized I got more, haven't finished my work as a sheriff, so I have to withdraw my nomination. That's because everybody in MAGA was like, what the hell just happened? And you know what that showed me? Trump listened. He's like, I think he didn't realize it because he's like, DEA, I'm sure he passed it off to somebody and was like, yeah, let's nominate whoever you want. And then when he found out, he's like, his first question was on True Social, who the hell recommended this to me? It's like, who recommended this guy So he's listening. There's this participation going back and forth. It's kind of like when there's this company. I used to collect statues. You've seen the statues back here, right? Whoops. Well, yeah, that statue. So I used to collect statues a long time ago. And there was a company called Queen Studios. And Queen Studios, what they really got known for is that when they would put out their pre-orders for whatever they were making, they would show you examples. And people would go, oh, the face is off, this is off, that's off. And immediately they would correct it. So they created this back and forth, turning their customers into their partners. I feel the same way is happening with Trump. He's not going, I'm not here to rule you. They've been ruling.
I was just going to say that, George. It's almost like we're the board and he's answering to us.
Yeah. See, and
he's
I
like the
that.
first person in the history of presidents to actually get how this shit's supposed to work.
Exactly.
And then they wonder why we like him and why we don't believe it when they're like, oh, he's going to be a dictator and he's going to no, he's being a boss. And I get it. He's technically not the boss of us. He's the boss of these people who are supposed to be fucking working for us. And he's just making sure they're supposed to be doing their jobs. Yep. And that is why that was another thing for me that really kind of turned me around. And I noticed that, especially when he started bringing his team together, right? With Elon and all those guys together. Like, then it started making more sense to me on that part. It's like, okay, this guy wants the minds there to tell him, this is what's working. This is what's not working. These are the people that are working. These are the people that aren't working. This is the system that is working. This is the system that isn't working. And that's what a boss needs, right? He needs somebody he can trust, who's not going to lie to him, who's not going to feed him full of shit, who's not going to be a yes man,
right?
And not somebody who's going to try and fucking torpedo him. And that's exactly why he asked that. Who recommended this fucking guy to me? Because, yeah, whoever did is trying to torpedo your ass.
It came out of the blue. You're talking not only Rhino of Rhinos, but a big sensor control freak. Magic City Girl for $10. Have you heard about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? Thoughts?
I have, but seen very little. Verbal, have you seen anything on this?
I haven't seen anything about this yet.
I know it's coming out in 2025. That was the last I heard of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to check into it, Magic City Girl. And we can talk about it next week. Let me dig into that for a little bit. Now, I will say Jon Stewart, of course, there were a few people who had a meltdown over Biden's pardon. Some of them were funny. Some of them, they understand the damage that has been done to the DNC.
Faith in the rule of law. Finally, Democrats have a moral perch from which they can judge without shame, hypocrisy, or nuance.
Breaking news, President Biden has issued a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden.
We were so close. But you know what? Good, get fine. It's good. It's right. It's his right. He's an 82-year-old man. Doesn't want to spend the rest of his life visiting his son in prison. Republicans get away with this shit all the time. I'm sure the pardon is a narrowly written, precisely drawn farewell note of compassion for a loved one.
The pardon sweeping, covering offenses that Hunter Biden, quote, has committed or may have committed or taken part in over the past 11 years.
Pretty bad when he can't even fucking spin it, right?
11 years is a very specific and not rounded amount of time. So, Hunter, I'll give you a pardon. A few years, 5 years, 10 years. It needs to be 11. And if you would be so kind, make sure this upcoming New Year's Eve is also covered. Shit's going to get crazy. I didn't know pardons could cover crimes you may have committed.
Exactly. And this is the point, Verbal. Yeah, this is it. I mean, at least, even when he can't spin it, right? Like,
no, he can't. It gets.
Jon Stewart, though, I will say this: he does shoot pretty straight most of the time.
Usually, yes, but he went a little fucking far lefty in the last.
Oh no, sure, for sure. I mean, he is on the left, but he usually goes after both sides,
He's trying to cope now.
Pretty
I think he's trying to cope also.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting at too. And the same thing with Bill Maher right now. Same kind of situation.
I have a clip because I think Bill Maher.
I'll wait for that then.
Yeah, because Bill Maher. Yeah, I have something to say about that. I think Bill Maher just showed who he really is, and I've said it for the last 4 months. But well, hold on.
Made Biden's pledge to not pardon Hunter the foundation of their defense of America, this grand experiment.
One political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't. It's that simple.
Hunter Biden's not above the law. No one is above the law. Democrats stand for the rule of law.
We accept the outcome because that's how the rule of law works.
Because the justice system that convicted his only surviving son is the same justice system he's vowed to protect. And if that doesn't tell you who Joe Biden is, I don't really know what does.
I think I know what does.
He can't control himself.
And now look at the dance Democrats have to do.
Be honest, the only reason why they went after Hunter the way they did, and I've talked to many federal prosecutors about this, is because he's the president's son.
People have to remember the president has lost 2 children already, and he does not need to lose another one to more political witch hunts.
Crowing.
I just want to say, don't give him too much credit here, because I think he's showing through some of his true feelings. Part of this is, and this kind of goes into the Bill Maher thing when we segue into that. Yeah, shit's bad, but it's quit making it fucking worse, right? Like this is basically that scene in Liar Liar. Like him and Bill are basically Jim Carrey right now, going, "Quit breaking the law, asshole!" Like. That's kind of where they're at this point. It's like, you're just making everything worse. We've been trying to tell you for the last few weeks, you're the problem. And now you're just proving us time and time again that you're the problem, right? And you need to fix yourselves, but you're just making it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you're just showing everybody exactly what they said you were for the past decade. And that's what I think. And that's where he's like, motherfucker, we were that close. I think that's really more of his point, is like, that was the last thing he had he could hang on with the left, is like, oh, at least they're the rule of law. That means something to us. Not now anymore. That's even out the fucking window, to the point where this is even a pardon where they're talking about it may even face a lot of scrutiny, and it may even be something that could be that maybe the first time a presidential pardon may be even possibly overturned.
I don't think that.
It will not be, because Trump is going to use that as a sword. Trump is going to use that.
It won't be him, is my point. There's other people talking about it. You're talking like.
Trump won't let him. I'm telling you. I promise.
He might not.
Because it's a sword and a shield at the same time. But now let me show you what Bill Maher. So Bill Maher. Oh no! First we'll finish with the pardon stuff. Do you know Charlemagne the God?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Unfucking fortunately, and I've been learning more about him.
He is kind of out there. I'll put it that way.
The quote January 6th hostages. He went on to call it an abuse and a miscarriage of justice. Any thoughts on this pardon?
Yeah,
you guys saw this coming?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I saw it coming. I wasn't thinking about it, but Hunter was singled out because he broke the law. That's number one. He was singled out because he had an illegal gun and tax evasion charges, not because he was the president's son. And I honestly don't care. I just want Democrats to stop acting like they are on this moral high ground politically when they have shown us they're not, whether it's skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardon this.
So he kind of goes on and he explains basically. I was a little bit shocked because he's really out there. I wanted to share something else. There was also, I couldn't believe it, a congresswoman, a representative from the Democratic Party. I was just trying to pull the clip, who is asking the president to pardon everybody in the administration, in the entire federal government, for any crimes and all future crimes. Because she's like, Trump's going to bring out the firing squads. He's going to go after them for anything. And I was like, can they not say we are criminal any louder? Like everybody in the, it's like, we are criminals. I mean, that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
As for Bill Maher had a little bit of a hissy fit. He was with Hanoi Jane this week.
Yeah.
And it was interesting what he had to say. Hold on. He tried to, hold on one second.
Just on the pardon thing too, I just want to say it's kind of easy for some of them to kind of own that one and be like, yeah, to me, it's an easy own for them too, right? Like they can it's an easy one for them to call out Biden. You know what I mean? It's an easy pitch all around. And that's why it really something feels completely off on this one to me. I don't know.
I think he just did what he wanted to do, and he wanted to piss off the Democratic Party, and he wanted to cover his own ass.
Truthfully, you're probably right, but at the same time, it just feels like it's such an easy pitch, even for the commentators, to be like, okay, now they got one that they can throw a few tomatoes at the Democratic Party and look good,
And did you hear Karine Jean-Pierre? Oh my God. Talk about brain dead. But here's Bill Maher.
Yeah, this is a whole nother.
It's hard to believe.
I mean, I may quit.
Sorry, yes,
I'm
Tommy.
shitting my pants.
It's hard to believe.
I mean, I may quit because I don't want to do another. I did Trump. I did all the Trump stuff before anybody. I called him a con man before anybody. He's a mafia boss. I was the one who said he wasn't going to concede the election. I've done it. I've seen this fucking.
Well, then how come he's so hostile to Jimmy Kimmel and not to you?
He's very hostile to me. He
Is
tweets
he?
about me every week.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Every week he accidentally watches my show and then low ratings lose.
I went to look. Trump hasn't tweeted about him or mentioned him in like 6 months.
I think there's a tell here because a lot of people think that Maher's saying, "Oh, I don't want to have to redo the same jokes and talk about the same stuff again for the next 4 years."
Mm-hmm.
He thinks he was so right on all this stuff in the front when half of that shit he was completely wrong on. Right? Like he was just as batshit out there crazy as the rest of the left going back in the day saying Trump's going to do this, Trump's going to do that, but he's had to do a 180 here in the last few months where he's had to say, no, Trump is not literally a dictator. No, Trump is not going to do this. You guys are being hyperbolic. It's not the end of democracy. And he's literally hitting that wall of realizing that I think he knows now that he's completely out of touch. And talking to somebody like Hannaway Jane, who's not just out of touch, but like fucking 40 years out of fucking touch.
Oh yeah.
I think made him realize that even more.
Well, also,
I'll be honest with you.
Bill Maher's what I call. I mean, you've heard of champagne socialist. He's a champagne moderate. You know what I mean? He's always been a champagne moderate. Bill's the kind of guy who has a bunch of money, who he thinks of himself as this intellectual, right? This guy who is ahead of the curve, right? And you can see it when he talks, especially to black people. He thinks he's more down than he really is. You know what I mean? That whole thing. And
that's why he thought he was so comfortable using the house
than he
word.
really is.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is this, man. I think Bill Maher does make some great points. I think that especially over the past couple of years, he's been a lot more objective. And I think it's because the lockdowns drove him to that. I think he hates Gavin Newsom so much that it drove him to that. But for the most part, you kind of have to take everything he says with a grain of salt, man. Bill Maher flip-flops, over and over. And when I say flip-flop, I'm not talking about being objective or seeing both sides of the situation. I mean, he will always try to jump where he thinks culture is going to go.
But do you think it's that, or do you think he jumps where he's going to get ratings and more money?
Oh yeah, no, he's a total attention whore.
Okay,
that's all the same.
Because that's what I kind of got from it. I kind of got from it what he was telling Hanoi Jane is that, like, I don't have anything more I can say on it, and it's not going to make me anything. That's what I got, or that he doesn't.
He lives and dies on the fact that Trump sued him before. Trump sued Bill Maher for. I don't know. I think Bill Maher made some jokes about him. Trump didn't like. Trump sued him.
It was during the birther thing. He made a joke that he wanted Trump to produce his birth certificate to prove that he was not the offspring of an orangutan and his mother.
That was it.
And so he sued him, and the whole thing got dropped or whatever. So it was. So of anybody who could have some TDS, I can understand him having that. But this whole idea of Trump tweets about it. I have never seen Trump tweet about Bill Maher, maybe once in the last few years.
Yeah, he has, and he talked about him once in a rally when someone brought him up. But it's like he's acting like Trump's focused on him. But my point was, you can see he goes on, and in the same episode, and I never used to see him do this before because it's something Verbal just mentioned. He's tried to play this balancing act for this last couple of years, where he's like, yeah, okay, Trump did, but the left just went batshit crazy. And Trump did, but the left just lost their mind. So I don't know if he really believes this. I guess it really doesn't matter. He's trying.
This is where I said I think he's kind of getting to this point where he's really losing touch. And I think Verbal's right. He's used to kind of being a little bit ahead of the game, a little bit more like he's got kind of his finger on the pulse of society. And I think he just realized his thumb's up his own ass.
Yeah.
Good point.
Also, something that we didn't bring up is Bill Maher he's one of these guys who, how do I say this, man?
Say it.
Well, no, because he thinks he's more of a ladies' man than he really is. You know
Oh,
what I
he
mean?
thinks he's a player.
Oh yeah, he thinks he is, and he has, and he throws his money around to make himself look, big in front of the women.
He thinks he's a
in front of the
classic
ladies.
80s cocaine cowboy type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happened was when Me Too came around, that's when things got too woke for him. Because Me Too started calling out certain people. You know what I mean? So he all of a sudden he became anti-woke when Me Too hit because that was more in his wheelhouse. That now he's he could be judged for some of the shit he's done, right?
He's never been a cancel culture
I've
fan,
heard things about this guy,
Okay.
just out there. I've heard things about him. So I can't take anything he says serious. I don't think he doesn't stand for anything. He doesn't really stand for anything. Now, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Okay.
I will actually, there's one thing about that though. That may be true, Verbal, because I've heard the same thing about his womanizing, and he's got a thing for, the model type,
especially
like
young,
younger,
girls.
Not necessarily they're generally of age.
Oh, not underage, just younger women.
Yeah, like I said, like the David Spade kind of thing, but like
without the charm. But yes,
yeah, exactly. But one thing he does stand for, and one thing I've seen him stand steady on, is he does not like cancel culture.
No.
Right, but that was only because of Me Too, though.
No, actually, Verbal, if you remember,
he
got canceled. He got canceled on ABC for his stance on certain things on
politically incorrect.
Exactly, and that's why he does not like cancel culture. That's one thing I will give him. That's why I will give him that he does, and he, no matter what side it comes from, I've seen consistency on him with that. To where he's like, no, I do not stand for any cancel culture,
sure,
on
and that's
any
fair.
jokes
I
and all
will
that
agree
kind
with
of
that
shit.
too.
Yeah.
But I've seen him double down after Me Too.
But I'm not going to deny that he might not have some Me Too things.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, while this is all happening, it seems like Biden again, it's like right as he's going out the door, he's trying to bring everything down around him. I mean, we already had the way that he authorized Ukraine to use, U.S. Missiles, long-range missiles into Russia. It's almost like he was trying to spark another war, World War III, or just to kick it off. And then at the same time, something that went unnoticed by the media, or specifically memory hold by them during the election, it came out that he raided Medicare funds back this year in order to fund a lot of the green energy projects. But today, two different things popped up. I was like, wow, people really need to know this, because this is what would have happened if we had continued to have basically a cackles campaign. And she had won.
That's the right thing for the wealthiest nation in the world to do. And today, I'm announcing over $1 billion in new humanitarian support for Africans displaced from homes by historic droughts and food.
So that's $1 billion that he wanted to give. America's broke. He wanted to give another 24 to 28 billion to Ukraine.
Fuck
before
that guy,
he walks
man.
out the door. Johnson just squashed that. And what else did he do? Now, this, I know that Musk and Vivek and all of us are excited. But Musk keeps talking about how they're going to make a lot of these changes with Doge, that they're going to implement Trump's changes. Except there's one point. Where the hell did it just spell? There you go. Is one of the things that they were going to do to cut the bureaucracy down to size is what he did at Twitter by immediately enforcing everybody who's working at home to come to the office. And he goes, that cut like half the staff, because they're like, I'm not going to the office, and they quit. So Biden today put this out. They said they just finished working out the deal. Biden regime prepares to exit. It has orchestrated a move as a cunning attempt to undermine the incoming Trump administration's agenda to streamline government operations. In a last-minute deal, the Biden has locked in telework protections for 42,000 Social Security Administration employees until 2029. He's making them all being able to work from home. So now Musk is like, don't worry, we're going to come up with a workaround. We're going to come up with a solution for that. So they're trying to lock in as many of the federal bureaucrats as they can before January 20th. They're not only just trying to leave, they're trying to steal people's voices, which I would consider your votes. Everybody goes, this is where we voted. Typically, the last few months before an inauguration, it's lame duck. We've grown up. We've watched that. You're supposed to do nothing. You cut your ribbons, go on Air Force One 50 times, get your free meals, get the hell out of here and be done. But they're trying to push it. Now, before we wrap up here, this last thing, we had this lady last week had melted down about Trump and anybody who supports Trump. And it's odd how karma works. You remember Kelly Sue DeConnick, the way she's like, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book?
Yep, she became famous for it.
She became famous for it. Well, this lady, where did she go? Yep, this lady did the same thing.
So this is me suffering the consequences of my own actions.
Emmett?
I just had a client send her husband into my salon.
That's the wrong one. Why does it? There, you know what? I don't know what the hell it is going on over at X, but the bookmark system has been screwed up for the last day. This was her original one.
They're dropping like flies. I lost another
Okay.
one of my clients today.
They removed it.
Clearly was a Trump supporter. And they sent me a message. They never cancel their appointment. They don't have the courage to cancel their appointment. And it's just fucking rude.
What happens is she went on a rant, which for some reason has now been deleted. She went on a
I was
rant.
trying to get the context there. Yeah.
So she went on a rant last week and she was like, I will give you free haircuts to shave your head. Women, we all band together. We all stick together. But if you're a Trump supporter, you voted for Trump, you don't, you know somebody who voted for Trump and you haven't stood against them, do not come to my shop. She owns the shop. She says, I'd rather starve than cut anybody and take care of anybody.
She didn't even have to say the last part. The first part was enough to turn off Trump fucking voters if she's like, that's the last person I'd want cutting my hair at that point. Yeah, you dumbass. And this is why I said this is a problem with all this shit. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So what happened is now that I set the stage, which I guess I should have done, I thought the video was going to be up, but it isn't. So now she's coming out and she's complaining and saying that she's ready to face the consequences. But the people are just canceling on her.
But anyway, she messaged me after I had messaged her like, hey, I had you down at 3, just making sure you're on your way. I'm making sure you're okay. And she wrote back, Dear Tiffany, spelled my name wrong. I am so sorry that this last election has upset you so much as to elicit the hateful public post you made on TikTok. Not once, but twice. I have really thought highly about you, and your posts have broken my heart. Since you have made it clear how you feel about anyone who doesn't share your opinion, I feel you have left no opinion but for me to move on. I wish you the best, and I am terribly sorry. So, just continuing to lose clients. And I would rather go work at Chipotle, and I was not lying when I said that I was headed to my Chipotle interview, because I did apply to Chipotle because I'm not going to ask for a handout, and it's been a rough year. I'm a single mom, and my ex-husband does help me out a lot during this time because I refuse to ask for help. But I would rather go and do what I need to do and work at Chipotle after my 22-year career in this industry and refuse to let people feel comfortable in my space to support racism, homophobia, and misogyny and a rapist. I would rather go work there than have people feel comfortable in my space.
Well, you're going to go work there. That's the thing. What do you think about people like that? You think, you like somebody like, well, she's karma, she's getting what she deserves, or you're like, she doesn't understand, she's been brainwashed?
Good. Let her work at Chipotle. Let her
agree.
see what it's like to have to work at a Chipotle.
Yep. I mean,
guarantee you she'll make it 2 days, maybe 3 days tops. You know, all these people do is talk shit, man. They try to, posture, and they try to act tougher than they really are. All of these people are full of shit. We see it all the time with these people talking about, oh, I'm going to leave the country because Trump won. They ain't going nowhere, man. They're too broke. They're too broke to go anywhere. They're going to be right here. And you know why they're broke? Because we have 4 years of Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly. That's the part that she's saying out loud that I don't think she realizes, that she's been broke this last year because of who she voted for president. Right? Let's be real. And the choices that were made on their behalf and their party's behalf. But anyhow, that being said, like the part that bothers me about this whole thing is you didn't, like I said before, you don't even have to say the last part to be able to make people turn away from you. The last part is what makes her deserve the ire she's getting, in my opinion. Right? You actually doubling down on the stupid and saying that if you are a Trump supporter, then fuck you. That was the worst part, right? The first part was enough for people to quietly stop supporting you. The second part was enough for them to say, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're saying. And her making this video is her showing you how hurt she is by all this shit. And it is a cry for help. And her saying, oh, I'm going to do it on my own. Bullshit. I guarantee you got your little PayPal there connected right to it and everything else. So don't even fucking lie to us, bitch. You're out there trying to get some fucking sympathy points for this from what few people do actually care about what you think or feel the same way that you do. And then guess what? You reap what you sow, right? At this point.
Hey, you know what?
Time and time again. Sorry.
She can always start an OnlyFans.
No.
Boom. He just went there. Yeah.
Well, that's funny because my joke when you said before about her not being able to work at Chipotle, I'm like, what are you sure about that? Because it's not too far from her job working at Hooters not too long ago, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just that you see, I've been meeting more and more people like this. I've been going out, I've been shooting some videos. I'm putting together a video. And it's so funny how those that I meet either have come around, like they're like, I was on the left but then I woke up. Some of them they felt the election woke them up. Like, how could so many Americans vote for Trump? It caused a shift in them. And so they went and looked everything back. They started researching on their own. That's what I tell everybody to do. If you have a question, go research it for yourself. Go read the New York Times and go read Breitbart. Go read the New Yorker and then go read the Conservative Treehouse.
I actually had that happen the other day. Because I said I have a post on one of Anson Mount's posts that keeps getting hit on, and somebody goes, he never said that, or I don't think he would say such a thing. I'm like, well, he did, and it made news.
Yeah.
And the person actually looked it up, and they said, I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's completely clueless. I saw dark Hierophant. What did you think? Did y'all see this video? There were a lot of people making excuses for it. They're like, you can't touch her because she could be a president one day.
I
say call the cops.
Ass.
I was like spoiled rotten kid.
Don't yell at her. Don't yell at her. I hear the mom. Yeah.
You hear that? Don't yell at her. Don't yell at her because you don't know.
No, I know that kid ain't being fucking parented right. That's what. Which one is the mother? That's my question.
I can't tell.
Or grandmother in this case, probably too. One or the other.
Oh my God.
Because that's the other thing. People give, black men such a bad fucking rap. I've seen a lot of grandparents raising kids lately.
There are a lot of grandparents raising kids because you either have parents, trying to work.
Coming from a parent and from somebody who's actually dealt with something like this before. Because when I worked at Movie Gallery, you had a kid going through the fucking whole store just knocking shit over. And I looked at the mother and I kept giving her the look and she's like, what? I said, are you going to stop him or pick that up or anything like that? And she's like, why? It's your job, ain't it? I said, no. And then when she come to check out, I'm like, I ain't checking your ass out. I said, you can leave. And she's like, what do you mean you ain't checking me out? I said, first of all, you're lucky I didn't call the cops on your kid. I'm going to be spending the next half hour cleaning up his fucking mess. You can leave now.
Right.
Like, that's how pissed I was. And this was 20 years ago.
Dude, this is what happens when kids don't get their ass beat.
You're right.
Exactly, Verbal.
Look, I mean, it is what it is, man. When I was young, and if I wouldn't even dare have cut up like that. Are you kidding me?
My mom would whoop me from here.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be able to sit till today.
Dude, not only would my mama whip me, she would have let other people whip me.
The worst thing your mom ever said was wait until your father gets home.
Oh, yeah.
When you heard that shit, you're like, fuck. Because I used to say, back in the day, kids, we didn't call the cops when our parents beat our ass. We begged the cops not to take our ass home so our parents would beat our ass. And that's exactly what they would do. They'd be like, no, take us to jail. Please take us to jail. Don't fucking take it. If my dad finds out I got in trouble with the cops, You have no idea. I'd rather sit in jail, sir. Please.
I told you. I think I told you that story when I was 16. I had just started driving, and I was supposed to be back by 10 o'clock. That was my curfew when I first had a car. I had worked 3 summers in a row at a gas station. Great experience as a kid working at a gas station. Meet a lot of girls. You know, when you met girls at a gas station, it's like, will you help me with my car? It was the greatest. You wouldn't think of a gas station that way. And the mechanic, I have never seen women throw themselves like they did at a mechanic for whatever reason. Anyway, so I was supposed to be back home by 10. It was midnight, so I'm racing, probably doing 95 to 100. Cop,
shit!
It's like, you know, pulls me, and I'm like, I have as my uncle had always told me, because he was a police officer. He's like, you want to relax a police officer so you don't have any problems with him ever. And he's like, take your keys in your one hand, your license and your insurance in the other, and put both hands out the window so you can see both your hands, because he immediately knows if there's nobody else in the car that he's safe. You know, he sees both your hands, he can't do anything, and he'll relax. Everything will just come down. Because he would always say the most dangerous thing for police officers walking up to the car. You never know what's going to happen, so they're always on edge. So the officer's walking to the car, and he sees both my hands are out, ID, and the keys in one, ID and insurance in the other. And you could almost see him like take this breath, but I'm huffing, you know, sweating. He's like, are you okay, son? My mother's going to kill me. He's like, what's going on? He's like, why are you doing? You know, what speed you are? I could arrest you because it's 55 and you're doing almost 100. You need to go to the hospital. I said, my mother's going to kill me. The guy started cracking up laughing. So he takes me. He's like, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but I'm going to follow you home. That guy, he drove all the way there. And then he smiled, but before he did, leaving, he whipped his lights and the siren. My mom fucking woke up. I was like, what? I go inside. He's like, good luck. It was crazy. My mom was like, what happened? I told her, and she was like, yep. I knew that officer was probably like, okay, no ticket, no jail, ass whooping. That's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was
that's
right
the thing,
there.
man. Like, these kids don't fear anything today, man, because of parents like that. And you know what those kids end up becoming? The worst human beings possible.
I agree. I mean, can you sit back and watch your child just go nuts like that in the store and do absolutely nothing about it? And then making excuses. They could be a president one day. Don't touch her. Don't hit her. It's like, how do you expect her to be president if she has no discipline? It was just crazy. All right.
She ain't even going to be a president of a fucking Hooters. No fucking way. No.
Not this way. Not the way she's going. The way she's being raised. No way.
No
way.
She's going to be in fucking prison by the time she's 16. Like, this is bullshit. Spoiled. This is the part that people need to understand, is the more they spoil the kid. And this is part of it too, is I hate it because society has handcuffed us as parents because we're afraid to discipline our kids at the same time. Because I've ran into enough of that shit. Because first of all, you got kids that are smart enough to go, I'll call the cops and tell them you beat the hell out of me. Right.
They're crazy.
So you got that part of it. And then you have the other part where when you do try to do anything, you have 20 other fucking people step in and think they know better than you.
Yeah.
Right. Because I had this one time at Walmart, or as this woman I was dating, the kid was being a little pain in the ass, was not listening. So on the way out the store, she kept stopping right in front of her mother. So finally her mother just give her a swat in the ass just to get her to move. And we didn't even get into the fucking car before cherries and berries were rolling up on our fucking ass. So somebody inside called the cops on us on our way out the store.
Wow.
And the only reason the cop was probably there in enough time is because we literally had a couple kids to get in there and the stuff, groceries and stuff we had bought and whatnot, to where like they had just enough time to get there. I'm like, geez, if they could respond this fast to something else that was an actual emergency, it'd be amazing. And I said that to one of the cops too, and I think that pissed him off. Probably. But like the whole thing was like, I'm like, it got to a point because it was in the middle of winter. I said to them, I got out because they kept telling me to stay in the car because it had nothing to do with me. I said, you know what? I said, there's cameras. I said, if you don't believe what she's saying, then go the fuck in there and check the cameras. You got our license plate. You got her license. You got everything you need. It's cold and we got kids in the car and food melting and whatnot. So let's go. I was like, what is happening here? Either you give her a ticket or what you going to do? Because at this point, it was like, if you're going to haul her off to jail for a swat in the ass, then you might as well haul every fucking parent ever in the fucking jail right now. That's all it was just an open-handed swat on the ass, and they're acting like they beat the hell out of this kid. And I said, you're scaring the kid more than she was scared before, upset before.
Yeah,
right
you need
now.
to do that. It's discipline. You need discipline. It's not about inflicting pain. It's about discipline. It's about the surprise. It's about, the proper punishment so they can learn, so they can have a great life and build a great foundation.
Well, and I said to the cop, I said, who called you guys is somebody who probably doesn't have kids.
Yep, I agree. Eric K for $5. Common sense is not very common anymore. Many have no critical thinking skills. Another winner, Eric K. Thank you for that. All right, I'm going to leave you with this video before we wrap up. This is it. This is hilarious.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is a bitch.
Anyway, that was a great show. And right after this, I'm going to have a member stream. Give me about 10 minutes and then we will start. Until then, enjoy this for a moment because I always love playing this song because it's just the way we roll.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight on the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang loud, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was to them. Oh, sail us the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of
I always love listening to that. So what do you got coming up, Verbal?
Yeah, let's see. I got my late night show on Saturday night, which I will be doing this Saturday. I have a couple of videos coming out between now and Friday, and we'll be back with you on Sunday.
Sunday, awesome.
Also, guys, I'm like 100 away from 5,000. I'm trying to hit that number.
Come on, everybody.
So please, by all means, sub if you got it in you. It's weird. Ever since I started doing YouTube, I've never been the guy to ask for subs because I figure, hey, if you like it, you'll just sub. But Chris Gore made a good point saying, hey, you don't ask, you don't get.
Nope.
And I'm doing it.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil. But you should have said that in the beginning. We would have told everybody. Wow, we had more people here. But no, everybody, please go sub to Verbal Riot. I mean, the way he lets it all out. That's why I call him the king of cutting commentary with this spicy takes. We got to do that Saturday show together once.
Yeah, no, we do.
Be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun. I've watched it. I always watch a Saturday night show. You got to watch it.
There's a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about. Tom, what do you have coming up?
Well, later on tonight, I'll be over on Fanzine's channel talking physical media, so you can find me there. Otherwise, you can always find me on Midnight's Edge, of course, and Midnight's Edge After Dark. It's a completely different channel, as Verbal points out. If you don't ask, you don't get. I forget to remind people of that. So yeah, do check that out as well. Otherwise, you never know where I might pop up.
Oh, cool. Well, cool. If y'all have time, you're welcome to join the member stream. If not, I will see y'all on Sunday. All right, everybody. Go eat your WINNAMINS. And remember, always forward. It's the only way to go.